Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 78 of the ReelTok Podcast. We have a great episode today. Of course, we're going to start out by talking Oscars, but we are also going to dive into reviewing a couple new releases, Spaceman, Damsel, Kung Fu Panda 4, etc., etc. I am joined, of course, alongside my two gorgeous co-hosts, Mr. Cam Walsh and Mr. Tyler C. Whitmore. We are recording this portion of the episode, unfortunately, at 10:45 p.m. on Sunday, right after the Oscars. So it's a bit late for Seth, so we do miss Seth. We'll catch him next week. Shout out to our executive producer, Mr. Stefan Johnson, absolute king. We always appreciate the love and support. Gentlemen, we're just going to dive straight into the Oscars. That's the opening of this episode. That's the most important stuff we obviously want to tackle this week. We saw John Cena naked. We saw Ryan Gosling give an all-time performance of I'm Just Ken. It really was a fantastic day for the Oscars. It was just the production of the entire ceremony was great. Anything you guys want to say about it before we dive into the winners?
Yeah, I'd say the ceremony was great as a whole. I really loved having the previous acting winners introducing each of the nominees. That was great. Does suck though because we got that, but instead of that, we didn't get like clips. I feel like this show lacked a lot of clips, like the Best Picture specifically. I know they were given Best Picture clips throughout like the night of each one, highlighting each movie, but that Best Picture reveal was so weird with Al Pacino and so anticlimactic. Like, I get that they were running out of time, but with how many jokes Jimmy Kimmel made about like going over time, I figured like, oh, they don't care what time it is. They're just going to finish when they finish. I mean, like Abbott Elementary is coming up next, so it wasn't like a live programmed something coming next. But as a whole is great. I thought the in memoriam was kind of weird. I feel like they didn't put like any focus on the people who actually passed. So I feel like that's the only issue I have. But other than that, I think and also final thoughts, sorry, on this ceremony as a whole, Jimmy Kimmel, I feel like is normally like the safest pick for host, but I feel like he was getting pretty edgy in that opening monologue. Like I feel like normally he's like the most like cookie cutter guy, but he made some jokes that were like, I was like, ooh, some of those are a miss, but I mean, I would rather have a comedian that has some hits, some misses, as opposed to like
he was harping on Downey Jr. a little too long in that monologue, and even Downey Jr. was kind of like, move on.
That was funny. Mm-hmm. That was funny.
It was funny, but yeah,
make fun of your past. It's okay.
It definitely like dragged out.
Tasteful too. The joke about like going to solve like I feel like if the jokes about it just don't work, it's just too downer of a movie. You can't just be like joking like, oh, I could have solved the murders in 3 hours 30 minutes. Like, chill, man. Like dozens of people died.
Yeah, we got two Madam Web strays, which I absolutely fucking loved.
Transformers Rise of the Beast stray though wasn't great just because the AI because when I heard him mention, I was like, oh fuck yeah, Transformers mentioned. I wanted to tweet saying like Transformers mentioned, then he immediately followed up by saying like AI could have wrote that. I'm like, something you really want to be saying, man.
Definitely not something we're gonna joke about, but it was funny. I'm honestly I'm not happy, but I'm happy you brought up the in memoriam section because I feel like I saw so many tweets of people immediately being like, was like in poor taste. And I don't know. I left in memoriam and I was like, oh, they did that well, that area. Like, I don't know. I didn't think immediately watching it. I didn't think it was like done in poor taste, but maybe
I just feel like in the past we got more like we got some clips of people, but I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like I wasn't really focused on like the people who passed. I feel like they were showing a lot of like wide shots of like the singers and like the dancers. Whereas I feel like normally it's like very up in your face. Like these are the people who passed, but I wouldn't say it's like a big failure. I just think it wasn't like as great as the rest of the night was.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's get into the winners. We got a lot to go through and it is late on the East Coast, which we're all on East Coast time this time because Mr. Tyler is traveling. As you notice his background, he's in a hotel room.
Yep.
So let's kick it off. I sent you guys the link, so we're just going to run bottom to top. Best visual effects went to Godzilla -1. Could not be happier. Obviously, I think we all had this in like our top 10 of the year. So we all kind of thought this should have been nominated for more Oscars. But obviously, it's not a film that the Academy is going to necessarily love. So I'm hype it went home with something, and visual effects just seems like the perfect thing to give it.
Do you see their shoes?
Good win.
Their shoes were sick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had like the Godzilla claw at the bottom. And they walked up holding Godzilla. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
They just seem like they're having a blast, which I just love. They just seem like they had such a good time. I will say, I think the creator deserved this award. As much as I love Godzilla, I think the creator's visual effects are just on another level. But I'm happy Godzilla did not go home empty-handed.
For sure.
Best sound went to the zone of interest. I don't think that was much of a surprise. That entire movie prioritizes sound. It's basically using sound to drive its narrative forward. A lot of people would have liked to see Oppenheimer, I think, or even Mission Impossible, but I think the zone of interest was kind of the obvious pick going into that award.
The zone of interest is an impossible film to have clips for, because like when they're doing the clips, each of the sound, they just showed like you just heard the terrifying screams, and it was like a flower. I'm like, man, this is just like, I mean, you got to do something for a clip, but I was like, this is like brutal, man. This is zone of interest clips.
You know what? I'm surprised when they did the Best Picture nominee and they did the zone of interest time, they showed the clip of the main guy picking up a skull from the river. And when I saw that, I was like, that's an interesting clip to like choose to like put in your Oscar montage. Like one of the darker moments, obviously the entire movie is dark as fuck, but that's one of the darker moments of that entire movie. So it was an interesting decision. Live action short film went to The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, which the three of you predicted. I did not. But Wes Anderson finally picks up an Oscar. Crazy he wasn't there. I can't.
Yeah, what's that
he's
about?
Filming,
is he like working on another film?
He's filming like
he?
he's in like Germany or Ireland or something overseas, filming his next film.
Okay, I kind of figured because
So,
like Hayao Miyazaki not
like
being there.
Production.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But Hayao Miyazaki not being there like makes sense. But like Wes Anderson, I don't know. He's been nominated countless times, and it's finally his time to like hold a statue, and he just wasn't there. But I guess if he's filming, it makes sense.
I guess
is Wes Anderson about the short feature.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is Wes Anderson saying short films aren't cinema? Question mark.
Yeah.
Best animated short film went to War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko. Which is funny because none of us predicted this. Obviously, none of us have seen the animated short films. So we all made a random prediction and we all picked the other four. So ReelTok not based, obviously.
I want to say I picked it, but Tyler cheated me out, so it's fine.
Yeah,
everyone that I missed, I actually picked.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's how it went. But no, somehow on our spreadsheet I copied and pasted my picks to Cam's, and I didn't even notice until way too late in the ceremony where I was like, man, like Cam and I are just like lockstep in these picks. And I was like, wait a second, there's something went wrong there. But that's what you get for missing the predictions episode. So it's whatever.
I made my predictions, man, and then I got screwed. But it's fine.
I still would have won.
I'll accept my victory.
We're gonna clump two together. We got production design and costume design. When we made our prediction video, we all said that this would be split between Poor Things and Barbie, and we were all I think locked in on that split. Both went to Poor Things, which kind of started this wave of Poor Things wins, which also came with hair and makeup, which I think a lot of people were surprised did not go to Maestro. But I think a lot of people say it should have gone to Maestro because of the prosthetics and how much the Academy loves prosthetics. But then you think Poor Things won hair and makeup for Willem
Maestro
Dafoe.
Sucks though.
What sucks? Oh, Maestro.
Sorry. Maestro sucks though.
Maestro does not suck. Maestro gets overly hated.
I think I'm officially anti-Maestro. I think it sucks.
But yeah, so we got production design went to Poor Things, costume design went to Poor Things, which I think makes sense for production design. I watched I listened to another podcast this morning talking about why Poor Things should win production design, and basically their argument was the entire movie was a production design for Poor Things. Whereas Barbie, when you're in Barbie land, yes, that's all production. That's all fantastic sets. But half the movie, or 30 to 40% of the movie, you're in the real world where it's nothing special about the production design. Whereas when you look at Poor Things, obviously the entire movie is just one massive outing of beautiful production design that they either built, or it was a brilliant soundstage, or a fantastic green screen, or something. Any thoughts on that?
The shot on the boat is just the best shot in there. The set design of like the boat that they're on in Poor Things, I think, is the best.
I think
any like set design in this year.
Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense when you talk about production design, how like the whole thing for Poor Things had to be production design as opposed to Barbie when they're in the real world, like half it isn't. But makeup and hairstyling, when they're showing the clips, I was like, all right, Golda's got, prosthetics, Maestro's got prosthetics. What was the third one? I know Society of Snow is last, but wasn't there another
Golda,
costume design,
Maestro,
Oppenheimer.
Poppy.
Oppenheimer. They were showing the Oppenheimer prosthetics. I was like, man, there's a lot of prosthetics to choose from. Where are they going to go with? And they went with the one, of course, that had none. But Sidey Snow didn't either. But I was surprised it won makeup and hairstyle. But once it won that and costume and set design, I was like, okay, I think Emma Stone's winning. Yeah.
I got nervous for director and picture for a second because Poor Things won. It was like all four of them were back to back. So I was like, yo, are we really about to see a
flashbacks to last year with All Quiet on the Western Front?
Yeah, that's what we were saying. Literally, as it was happening, we were like, oh my god, All Quiet all over again.
Crazy.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Poor Thing. I think a lot of people predicted Poor Things to go home empty-handed. Which would not have been like crazy because there was a lot of stacked categories this year, I think, especially in the tech categories. One of the bigger locks of the night was Best Original Song, which went to What Was I Made For, written and sang by Billie Eilish and Phineas. After Ryan Gosling's performance of I'm Just Ken, I was like, you know what, fuck it, just give it to I'm Just Ken, just give it to it. But I think there was no doubt in my mind that this was going to Billie Eilish. She is now a 2-time Oscar winner at the age of 22, which obviously makes us feel incredibly inadequate. Olivia Rodrigo could literally never. Yeah.
Olivia Rodrigo makes better music. Billie Eilish makes music for the machine. Makes music for the machine. God. Congrats. A cog in the wheel, man.
Olivia Rodrigo is literally the definition of someone who makes music for the machine. It's just pop music.
Billie Eilish could never have made Love Is Embarrassing. Or Love
the
is
thing
Embarrassing.
Is, the fact that she has 2 Oscars at 22 when she's like not even like a movie person, like there's just like her side hobby of making
literally
music
she's doing side quests. It's insane. And then you realize No Time to Die came out 3 years ago, so she was 18 or 19.
No Time to Die. What was No Time to Die going up against? Because I feel like that I don't.
Dude, it's a Bond movie that they always win. The Bond movie songs.
Bond movies are a shoo-in for Best Original Song.
19,
yeah, let's see. Best Original Song. This is bad podcasting, but whatever. Okay, so it beat out Be Alive for King Richard, Somehow You Do for 4 days, four good days, and then an Encanto song and a Belfast song. So I
loved Encanto.
Yeah,
Two Gatas or something. I'm not looking at it, but I remembered something like that.
Yeah, the movies and the songs are not as memorable as No Time to Die, but the King Richard song was sung and written by Beyonce, and the Encanto song was sung and written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. So she went up against fierce competition, but Bond songs are always blocked.
Encanto song?
I don't know. I closed out the page.
Dos Oruguitas.
Something. Sorry. We'll keep up with the music. Best Original Score went to Mr. Ludwig Göransson for Oppenheimer, which I think was another lock. I know you have John Williams in the category, and it's obviously never a lock.
If John Williams would have won this, I actually would have I think that would have been the most cog in the wheel in the machine.
It was never going to happen. That was the 5th best score on this list, and this list also included the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th best scores of the year. So bad category all around. I think everyone kind of acknowledges that, but they got the winner right, thankfully. Ludwig Göransson, another 2-time Oscar winner. He obviously originally won for Black Panther. So he's in legend territory now, obviously.
Yeah.
We touched on Best Makeup and Hair. Best International Film went to The Zone of Interest. It was the only international. The same thing happened last year with All Quiet. It was the only international film nominated for Best Picture. So the other nominees might as well not have even showed up to the Oscars. I jokingly tweeted the only person Jonathan Glazer should be thanking right now is the entire country of France for not nominating Anatomy of a Fall, because that obviously I think would have won this award. So Jonathan Glazer kind of lucked out. Thoughts?
I feel like we got to change how the Best International Film category works for a lot of reasons, but one reason specifically is like last year and this year, it's just like, All Quiet, lock. Zone of Interest, lock. Like when they're already nominated for other stuff, like I feel like use this category to like celebrate the films that aren't getting nominations anywhere else. Like I feel like if you are nominated anywhere else, you should be like excluded from the Best International Feature category.
I gotta assume you get some sort of money for this. or some sort of like the country that nominates it gets some sort of benefit from this. So they just
and it helps marketing the movie. You can say it's an Oscar-winning movie when you're trying to push DVDs and stuff. So, I mean, it helps, but I don't know. It just feels a little weird. The last 2 years, I feel like it's a little too much of a lock.
Yeah, it's been a little.
I gotta assume Parasite won in 2019, right?
Yes.
Or was it not? Yeah, I gotta assume, right? So
absolutely won.
So is it always whatever is nominated for Best Picture? Like,
I mean,
it's not always we have
not
a foreign film nominated
necessarily
for Best Picture.
Yeah, like Best International Feature Film. Yeah, the winner is not always nominated for Best Picture. I think that's just the way it's kind of happened over the last couple of years. So it makes the category a little too obvious, which just takes away from the fun. And it's also, I think, it's a weird way of going where every country can only nominate one film. I think it's just an odd way of going about it because I think a lot of people would have picked 2 French films for this category, The Taste of Things and Anatomy of a Fall. And The Taste of Things didn't even make it into this category, which was the French nominated film. But moving on, film editing, Oppenheimer took home the win. Which I think came as a shock to a lot of people because I think a lot of people had predicted Anatomy of a Fall. But Oppie is just kind of on another level.
I think this was Oppenheimer. It was, I don't know where it was. Oppenheimer got 1 win, or it lost like its first 3 awards and then got 1 win and just won outright from there. I'm pretty sure after it won its first, everything after that it was nominated for, it won. Which it was the definition of don't let me get hot because it started off a little cold and then got 1 hit and just started banging threes right there and just win right after that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were questioning the Oppie sweep when Poor Things won on that quick technical run, but then don't let my man get hot, dude. That was a fourth quarter riot that Oppenheimer went on. Picked up film editing. Best documentary short film went to The Last Repair Shop. Nothing we can say. We're ignorant. We don't watch stuff.
I have heard really, really, really great things about it. Like genuinely though, like that's more so than I normally hear about the winners of short films.
Yeah, and then best documentary feature. The only knowledge I have on the documentary features is whatever K Meeks has been talking about, and the way he talks about these 5 nominees. Apparently, they all are not that good.
Okay.
But 20 Days in Miracle won. I saw a lot of people tweeting about Still, the Michael J. Fox documentary, and how that wasn't even nominated to begin with. So interesting category. Then not much we can say on it, obviously. Best cinematography went to Sir Hoyte van Hoytema for Oppenheimer. I think this is one of the closer categories with Flower Moon and Poor Things. Seth watched El Conde, and he said the cinematography was right up there in a deserving spot for a nominee, so that's good to see. But Hoyte van Hoytema goes home, I believe, with his first Oscar.
I think it's his first. Yeah, I was just going to ask that. I think it was. Yeah,
I think it was his first.
Yeah, first would probably. I think it won't be his last. I'm going to put a hot take out there right now.
I'd imagine that he's going to continue working with Christopher Nolan because he's worked with him on Tenet, on Interstellar. He also did Ad Astra a couple years ago. He did Dunkirk, and he did oh my god, Jordan Peele's Nope.
Oh no, Nope.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Wow. So he
seems like he's just a big IMAX guy because that was an IMAX film as well. So
yeah,
and Christopher Nolan's never going to stray away from IMAX. So he's just got to lock in like Jennifer Lame, Hoyte van Hoytema, Ludwig Göransson, keep this God Squad, just keep rolling with this production team.
Yeah, he's assembled the Avengers of production team here for the better, obviously, because they fucking cleaned up. Original screenplay went to Anatomy of a Fall. Once Barbie moved to adapted screenplay, I think this category was basically a wrap. I think Barbie and Anatomy of a Fall were the only 2 contending in original screenplay. As much as I would have liked Past Lives, as much as I think a lot of people would have liked May December, it was never going to happen. So Anatomy of a Fall just was the obvious winner in original screenplay. The second Barbie moved to adapted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love Anatomy of a Fall. I love Sandra Hüller's performance. I love everything about that movie. So I was very happy. Shout out Messi the dog. We didn't talk about him. Got a couple moments. I don't know if you guys stayed to the end of the show when they showed him peeing on Matt Damon's stuff.
He wasn't actually peeing. I was looking very intently.
It's because he's respectful.
It's not actually.
They made him do it for the bit. He's like, I'll pretend.
Good actor. I mean, that the dog faked a seizure for a movie. Like, how do you even?
Yeah.
there are humans not that talented. Like, how the fuck
Genuinely.
do you do that? But moving on, again, shout out Messy the dog. Adapted screenplay did go to American Fiction, which I don't know. I didn't see American Fiction, but I think in a category with Barbie, Oppie, and Poor Things, that just seems like a weird win.
Yeah, it was a weird win. He gave a great speech though, but I mean, I would have loved Oppenheimer. Obviously, I saw American Fiction. I liked it. I didn't love it, but he gave a great speech. Kind of, I guess if I'm going to talk the talk, walk the walk, I said, if other movies are winning in other categories, maybe open up international feature. Normally in the past, it's like if you win screenplay, you're a lock for winning Best Picture. It's kind of nice to see a little variety this time around.
Yeah. I like historically. I think Tyler, you watched them, the Oscar Experts and Brother Bro. Do you watch them at all? They were talking about it on their podcast where they were like, historically, one of the screenplay winners goes on to win Best Picture, like something like upwards of 90% of the time. But over the last like decade, it's only happened like maybe 50 or 60% of the time. So nice little tidbit with the screenplay award. So it was nice that it didn't happen this year because I just think it gives a lot of opportunity. Like American Fiction was not going home with any other award if it didn't win adapted screenplay. And then Anatomy of a Fall, pretty much the same thing because I don't think anyone really thought Sandra Hüller was gonna put together a Best Actress upset. Best Animated Feature. This was a 2-horse race from the start, and The Boy and the Heron walked out on top over Across the Spider-Verse. I know a lot of people have, boo from me too. I liked The Boy and the Heron a lot. I don't think it's Miyazaki's strongest film, not by a long shot, unfortunately. So I would have liked to see it go to Across the Spider-Verse. They're both achievements in animation. I don't think anyone is denying that. I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to personal preference. I know people who have The Boy and the Heron at number 1 of the year. I know people that have The Boy and the Heron, like myself, at a 3.5 out of 5, closer to like that 30 to 40 range of the year. So it's all over the place. I would like to see Spider-Verse go home, but I guess you already have a Spider-Verse animated feature win Into the Spider-Verse, so give it somewhere else.
To quote Shamik Moore, we were robed.
Yeah, we were robed. Hilarious tweet.
No, his Twitter night was so funny because he went, "We were robed," and then he did robbed asterisk, and then followed it up with like apologizing for being a sore loser. Like he had a night. He went through. He probably had his ear a lot. Yeah, he was like, guys, obviously I'm a sore loser. I know. I'm happy for our film, stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where like Miyazaki, when you win an Oscar awards, usually it should be for like your best career work, and this wasn't for him. He's already won an Oscar before. Spider-Verse already won an Oscar before, so they both kind of can't use that like, oh, we haven't won it before justification. Yeah. So I don't know. Interestingly enough, though, like Spider-Verse is like a decent favorite, like Vegas betting wise going into it, which doesn't make sense because Boy and the Heron won so many other precursors. But like, I don't know, something about the Oscars, it was like a -250 favorite for Spider-Verse to win it. So I was like, maybe it will, but went to The Boy and the Heron, which I think most people expected in terms of like watching the award season. But both very deserving movies.
Yeah, I also think a lot of people were like, give it to The Boy and the Heron because Spider-Verse already has an Oscar. I think it's such a weird argument when you think about the fact that Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 all won Best Animated Feature. So like the Oscars are not like strangers to just continuing, sequels. But yeah, I'm happy for Miyazaki. I obviously love him. He's one of my 10 favorite filmmakers out there. I just think this is not his strongest film. Supporting actress, probably the biggest lock of the night. I don't think anyone denied that Divine Joy Randolph was going to win, and it was the most deserving, I think. As much as I loved Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer, I think Divine just gave the more emotional and powerful performance. So she walked away, and I'm happy she also walked away because I think The Holdovers is a fantastic movie. Very high on my 2023 ranking, so I'm happy it did not go home empty-handed. And again, I don't think anyone was really confident that Paul Giamatti was going to piece together a Best Actor run.
Lupita Nyong'o's like speech before Divine Joy Randolph went up there was so emotional. I was like, damn, I'm already like tearing up like 10 minutes into the Oscars. That was so good.
Dude,
just loved having them present them.
She gave the best speech. Divine Joy Randolph gave the best.
She had everyone crying. The camera cut to Paul Giamatti crying, and I was like, damn.
Such an epic shot. Yeah, like the image that's going around with Twitter with like the one teardrop, the No Shot Marino NFL shot of him crying. Yeah, great picture.
I was like, shit, she got everyone fucking crying. Another absolute lock of the night was Best Supporting Actor, which went to Mr. Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. himself for Oppenheimer. Again, just another award. I think 100% of people probably predicted correctly. I don't think anyone else, Sterling K. Brown, Robert De Niro, Ryan Gosling, or Mark Ruffalo, was going to walk away with this award. Just like Javon Joy Randolph, they swept every single award show. I don't think there was one award show where they did not win their respective categories, which is something you can't even say about our Best Actor and Best Actress winner. So yeah, MCU stands up. Your Iron Man is an Oscar winner.
Dude, I thought his acceptance speech was going to take a turn when he was saying like, I needed this project, like it saved my life type of thing. And then immediately after that, he's like, to my agent. And I thought he was about to make a joke being like, you know, thanks for finally putting me in a good movie, or like just kind of roasting him for being in shitty movies. But then he like just thanked him like normal. But I thought, because he went directly from like, this movie saved my life, I needed to finally get a movie like this. And then he's like, to my agents. I thought he was about to be like, fuck you guys for putting me in all these shitty movies for years. But no, he was respectful, which is good for him. He's just kind of a cocky guy. So his speech was a little cocky, but I mean, after Jimmy Kimmel like roasted him so hard, I feel like he handled it with decent amount of class.
Yeah, he deserved. I honestly, I know a lot of people rip on the MCU, but I would have been upset if he like cracked an MCU joke. Like that's what put you back on the map. That's what gave you $500 million over the course of 10 years. Like
I wasn't even thinking that necessarily. I think I was more thinking like Doolittle and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I really thought he was gonna like catch an MCU stray or something.
For sure. Wouldn't have surprised me just because of the way he is, but I'm happy he didn't.
I think he's very knowledgeable on the fact that he'd be in a ditch probably ODing or something if the MCU did not like take him out of that. Like he was very much on a dark path and then got himself clean, which is fantastic and good and very important. But he very much was not in a good place when like he joined the MCU, or you could say Zodiac, because Zodiac I think technically comes first. But I think he's very knowledgeable that the MCU is important to him.
Yeah, so
like much more than I would say much more than other like MCU actors. Like him,
and he already had generational wealth, but it gave him like generational like empire money.
Yeah, he is now a legacy, a legend. My bad. Always has been, always will be. Best directing went to my fucking goat. Christopher Nolan finally picks up an Oscar, which is just poetic. This was the man that basically convinced the Oscars to extend their category for Best Picture from 5 nominees to 10 nominees when the Dark Knight was shamefully snubbed of that Best Picture nominee. So massive shout out. Dude, I'm telling you, for like a hot sec, I was on the edge of my seat thinking Yorgos Lanthimos' name was going to be read. I really was. I was like sweating. I was like sitting next to Victoria. I was like, feel my hands. I'm fucking dripping. I was so nervous. Such a sigh of relief when he won. I was so fucking happy. My favorite filmmaker ever. Absolutely deserving. I could cry.
I mean, so now Oppenheimer's his most critically acclaimed film ever, obviously by miles, and box office wise, probably the best he's done since
The Dark Knight Rises.
The Dark Knight Rises, because Dunkirk, Tenet, these all didn't outgross it. Interstellar didn't either. So it's the best box office, critically acclaimed. He won all these Oscars. I think he has his dream team set. I think you just got to keep rolling with them. I feel like he's on a path. He's operating at such a crazy high level. Tenet is my second favorite film he's ever made. I think his last 2 are his best 2. So if he just keeps this rolling, he's got the critical praise, the money praise. All this is Christopher Nolan's about to be killing the game again for another decade.
When did
does he
go Cam?
I was just gonna ask, does he go back to Warner Brothers, or is he all in on Paramount now?
They should be all in on Paramount.
Yeah,
or isn't Universal?
Yeah,
Universal.
I also don't think it matters with Christopher Nolan. He's not worried about like a company like tying him to a leash and holding him back the way like Kevin Feige does with his MCU directors. Like anyone is going to throw money at Christopher Nolan and say, "Yeah, do whatever the fuck you want."
Get Chris Nolan in the MCU. Yeah.
Tyler, when did Tenet pass The Prestige on your Nolan ranking? Because for a while you were a Prestige Nolan best guy.
The IMAX re-release, so just a week 2 ago. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it just changed everything for me.
All right, I figured. Damn, I'm so jealous.
Did you guys see Tenet in theaters originally or no?
No.
Originally, no. Riley did. Riley's seen Tenet like 5 times. It's her favorite movie like ever. And she's more of a Tenet stan than I am. And I'm like a 5-star Tenet guy.
I love that Riley's
Tenet was
2
like
favorite
my
films
movies are back movie. Good theater experience for the first time. Like, even though like no one went and saw it, but I was in a fairly decently packed theater. It was very much a movies are back movie.
I would love
it
to fucking see.
It definitely like has a better reception. I feel like it has revisionist history on it almost, in the sense that like when it came out, people were not nearly as high on it as they are now.
For sure.
Dude, so many movies have revisionist history. I wanted to reply to your tweet so bad, Tyler, where you were like, when are people going to start realizing that Spider-Man 3 is like, stop it. No one was on Team Spider-Man 3 like 2 years ago. The revisionist history on that movie is absurd. That's not why we're we're not having this conversation.
I almost replied to that as well, because Sam Raimi doesn't even like Spider-Man 3.
No,
we don't have to like Spider-Man 3.
We're all lying.
He doesn't like
We're all lying.
No one
real quickly. To be fair, I'm a little bit different because it's not that I'm putting Spider-Man 3 on this pedestal, because that's only a 3.5 for me. I mean, we're not crazy here. It's just I don't love the other Spider-Man movies as much. Whereas some people are Spider-Man 3 stands are like peak and all that other shit. For me, it's just like, they're all like 3.5s, but I prefer that one a little bit. But yeah, funny tweet.
That's fair. That's fair. Best actor, another just massive let's fucking go when this name was announced. Mr. Cillian Murphy, Mr. Thomas fucking Shelby picks it up for Oppenheimer. There was a moment where I was like, damn, what if they say Paul Giamatti's name? Like, I would have been happy. Paul Giamatti gave probably my second or third favorite best actor performance of the year. So it's not like they're giving it to like someone absurd. So I'm so happy Cillian Murphy walked away with this. I think a lot of people don't take into account. I think the Oscars love when they pick someone who's just like a natural behind the microphone. And I think across awards season, Cillian Murphy just gave some awesome acceptance speeches. So it was like he gave a fantastic performance. He's a really good guy, gives awesome speeches. This is going to be just such a well-rounded win that everyone is going to love. I loved it. I'm so happy for him. He carried that movie on his back. He carried a 3-hour biopic on his back, and I don't think there's just anyone else that could have done as fantastic a job in that role as he did.
Hot take.
Let's hear it. I think he froze.
Yeah, he froze big time. God, what a bad time to freeze. I was so
I might be. I might not.
I think you're back.
Around?
You're back.
Am I alive? All right.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. I thought like Tyler's Wi-Fi was bad, but I've been cutting out this entire time. So
you have been, and you've always been giving me heart attacks because I'm in a hotel Wi-Fi, and I'm like, dude, am I cutting out? But then George is perfect. So I'm like, no, I think it's you, buddy.
Yeah.
What's the hot take?
It's me. My hot take is Cillian was carrying like 1 pound weights on his back. Like it's like, yeah, he carried the film, but also he had the best director, best supporting actor, best. I might be cutting out again. All right. No, I'm not.
No, we're here.
Like, all right.
Beautifully put.
That's my hot take is he carried a 1 pound weight on his back. Good for him. And he did an amazing job and he carried it well. But that's just my hot take there.
Yeah. I'll say Cillian Murphy was my number one choice.
He was my number one. Yeah.
Yeah. He was my number one too. I loved his performance. I just rewatched The Holdovers on the plane to Georgia for the 5th time now. So I'm very well versed in The Holdovers. And Paul Giamatti, I think in terms of like an acting display, pound for pound, like scene for scene, I think probably showed more range of acting, but it's just Cillian Murphy's like putting a movie on his back for 3 hours and just all he had to do and how much he had to invest into this, I think is why he's very deserving of the award. But Paul Giamatti, shout at him. Would have been fine seeing him win. Obviously, I'm very happy for Cillian and wanted Cillian, but Paul Giamatti is so great just watching again today. Like the way he just like his limp and like his body, like he's such a natural actor. And shout out Nick Cage for the intro to Paul Giamatti being like, would I put a blank contact in my eye and almost go blind? Hell yeah, I would. All timer Nick Cage, love it.
Absolute guy. This wouldn't be a right Oscars. Go.
I was today years old when I learned Nick Cage was an Oscar winner. I'm gonna be
honest. Yeah, for was it Leaving Las Vegas or was it for the
Leaving Las Vegas?
Yeah, Leaving Las Vegas. Yeah. Just now learned that. So
yeah. This wouldn't be a proper Oscar podcast without at least one Maestro Stray walks home empty-handed, which is just crazy because everyone I think expected it to win hair and makeup and it didn't.
Other than Carey Mulligan, nothing about that movie stands out.
I love Bradley Cooper though. I'm still very much team Bradley Cooper.
I am
I'm
team
just not a fan
Bradley.
of my
Oh
show.
yeah, shout out Bradley Cooper.
Bradley
Yeah,
Cooper, a
for
good
sure.
guy. Good movie, but tough. He's tough.
But Killers of the Flower Moon also empty-handed.
Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon also empty-handed. Naiad empty-handed. The Color Purple empty-handed. What else?
Spider-Verse empty-handed.
Spider-Verse empty-handed.
Should have at least been nominated for fucking score, you idiots.
Wow. So hold on. How many? So we have 1, 2, and 3. So 3 of our Best Picture nominees went home empty-handed. Past Lives, Maestro, and Flower Moon. That's sad.
Is Barbie's only What Was I Made For?
Yeah.
Correct.
That's basically empty-handed.
I would agree. I was going to say that too, but I mean, at least it has one.
I mean, like I tweeted in the middle of the pod, like I downloaded like 8 different for tweeting on ReelTok. By the way, go follow ReelTok.
Yeah, you killed it. You killed it.
No, but I downloaded like 8 pictures and just used the ones of Billie Eilish. Just use those. Like that was the only thing I used them for.
Didn't go home empty-handed. I'm not on that wave. All right, Best Actress. The closest award of the night. One of the bigger shocks of the night, obviously coming into Best Actress. Lily and Emma had both picked up Golden Globes. Emma picked up the BAFTA, and I believe
Emma, you're talking about
Emma, yeah, and then Lily picked up SAG and Critics' Choice. Or no, sorry, Emma picked up Critics' Choice.
Did Lily just get
SAG?
Yeah,
which could be argued as like the biggest precursor. It's the precursor right before a lot of Oscar voters submit their ballots, so it's freshest in their mind, which I think was another big reason why a lot of people were predicting Lily to win. Emma Stone goes home with her second Oscar, first one obviously being for La La Land. I'm sad. It would have been nice to see Lily win. I know a lot of people were pulling for Lily to win. I think this was the right decision. Emma was Poor Things. She was the entire movie. She carries that movie on her back from start.
Now that's carrying a movie.
That is carrying a movie, which unfortunately is not something you could say about Lily Gladstone's performance, because you could argue that Leo DiCaprio was the main character of that movie.
Which isn't her fault. That's Scorsese and Eric Roth, I think, who wrote it. That they sculpted it to not be her. And people talked about this early in the season. Should she have been supporting? Should she have been lead? I mean, I think if she would have been supporting, she obviously would have won. Would have given Divine Joy Randolph a run for money.
Yeah,
I think so for sure. But it's crazy that it was such a shock when Emma won, even though like looking back to last year between Blanchett and Yeoh and between Butler and Fraser, like those were basically just as close as this race was. But if any of those flipped a different way, I wouldn't have been like, holy shit, I can't believe they did that. Whereas this, I felt like, it just felt different, with Emma Stone winning. She clearly was completely shocked. Yeah. I would have wanted Sandra Healer, but that was insane. I couldn't believe Emma Stone actually won. But I rank her performance ahead of Lily Gladstone. So like, I think it's the correct winner. But, sucks for Lily Gladstone. It's hard to not root for her. Sad to see her not win, but hopefully she gets to make it back.
Yeah, I think even Emma was expecting a Lily Gladstone win. She looked like genuinely like stunned, and she started crying immediately. And I don't know if those were tears of joy or tears of like, damn, I really don't want to be in this position right now because of what Lily Gladstone's performance and the character she's playing means. So it's very shocking, emotional win. Again, I think Emma gave the better performance, so I personally think this was the correct decision. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of discussion on this award over the next couple of weeks across a lot of different podcasts. Anything else we want to say about that before we get to the big award?
Yeah, happy for Emma. I think she earned the award. I think she, like you said, had to put the movie on her back. Lily didn't have to do the same. Not Lily's fault. It's the movie's fault for not shaping the movie around her, when I would argue it should have been more focused on her and her family and their plight. But, hey, Emma won. A little shocked by it, but I'm happy.
Yeah, then I think a lot of people forget just how young Emma Stone is. Like obviously she's not Billie Eilish, 2 Oscars at 22, but to have 2 acting Oscars at 30, what is she, 34, 35? That's insane. She's on her way to GOAT status. I think she's already up there with the all-time greats. I love her, one of my favorite actresses. So I am happy to see her walk away with her second Oscar. Big award of the night. Best Picture, American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppie, Past Lives, Poor Things, Zone of Interest. Pretty strong category. But like we said, don't let Oppie get hot. That's exactly what he did. And Oppie picked up that Best Picture award at the end of the night, following the worst presentation of an award that I've ever seen.
Just crazy, just mind-boggling.
It was like a weird. It wasn't even like his tone. It was also just like a weird way. He was like, "I see Oppenheimer." I'm like, "Okay, so does that mean Like, what are we doing?" It was a very weird presentation of the award. I don't know. I think this was another lock of the night. But again, I got nervous for a second that Poor Things was gonna kind of crash the party. But I think this was another like lock of the night, or at least definitely the movie that kind of pulled ahead as we kind of moved across awards season, with especially Cillian winning everything or most things, Nolan winning most things, RDJ winning most things. There was just a lot going for it across awards season. It was my number one of the year. I believe it was Tyler's number one.
Oppenheimer?
Yeah. And it was Cam's number 2 of the year, number 3 of the year.
My number 4 or 5.
Okay.
I have the Iron Claw, Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians, and then Oppenheimer.
Okay, that's cool. It's fine to be wrong sometimes.
That's right.
So Oppie won.
Bad movie.
Fucking trash movie.
Trash movie.
Going on one of the best Oscar campaigns ever, picking up 7 awards. I'm so happy it won Best Picture. It's one of my most rewatched films, one of my favorite films from my favorite director, one of my favorite working actors. So I'm just very happy it won. Definitely put a massive smile on my face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about precursors to award season, Poor Things didn't pick up a ReelTok Best Picture nomination, so that obviously hurt its chances, and that's kind of the reason it wasn't a big fighter here. But yeah, Oppenheimer 7 awards, Poor Things 4 awards, and Zone of Interest 2 awards. It was only films that won multiple awards on the night, but it's a good bunch. Poor Things definitely outperformed what I expected from it, but yeah, just tough to see some films go home empty-handed. But go ahead.
How many ReelTok awards did Oppenheimer have?
6 million.
I think like 11.
Okay, so more base than the Oscars. More base than the Oscars.
Yeah, we got an Oppie sweep, but it wasn't like I was expecting more of an Oppie sweep.
Hey, we predicted costume design correct for Poor Things.
True.
So that's a W. But all right, and anything else we want to say about the Oscars before we wrap up this portion of the episode? Oppie won 7 awards, which, as happy as we all are, it does not put it in like the pantheon of greats of most Oscar wins. Of course, Ben-Hur, Titanic, and Return of the King leading the pack with 11. And then there's a whole slew of movies that have 10, 9, 8. So not quite there on the Oppie sweep that a lot of people may have expected, but it won the big ones, and I'm very fucking happy.
My biggest takeaway from this award show, and I think like I think the award show itself was really great. Actually, I enjoyed it definitely more than last year. And then obviously I'm not a huge award show guy, so I haven't watched previous to that. But I think it was technically well done. Like I think Jimmy Kimmel did a good job. A lot of the presenters did a good job. Like especially John Mulaney had a funny monologue. A lot of good things. I will say I think this was just like a boring award show from a winner's standpoint. Like when I had every big category I had already typed out before they announced them, like Oppenheimer winning, Cillian Murphy winning, Robert Downey winning. I had Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone. I had 2 tweets made, but it was only between them. Divine Joy Randolph, I had that. Christopher Nolan, I had that. Animated feature, The Boy and the Heron, like it was winning everything prior. You probably could have seen it coming. I personally, I like Across the Spider-Verse, so I was probably a little not smart there. But then like Anatomy of a Fall, and American Fiction, like you said, Tyler, in a group chat, like they were the betting favorites, so they were very clearly going to win. Oppenheimer basically won everything. The craziest things were that like Barbie didn't pick up like a costume design here or there or a production design. I feel like outside of that, I feel like it was kind of a boring award show in the sense that there were not really any races, especially in the acting like categories and director. I know, George, you said like at one point you were kind of worried about Yorgos like winning, and I understand that, but like, were you really? There wasn't really. I don't know. Like, was there ever really a doubt that Oppenheimer was going to win Best Picture this year? I feel like there just wasn't.
Yeah, we're also coming off of like last year where I think like every category last year was up in the air. I don't think there was like one like certified lock for last year. Even Best Actor, like
Ke Huy Quan was the only one.
Yeah, Ke Huy Quan was really the only lock last year. So I think coming off of last year's very unpredictable and chaotic award season to this year where it was just a little more, I don't want to say boring because it was still a lot of fun watching Oppenheimer and my favorite movie win everything. It was definitely not as like enjoyable of an experience. But I do agree with you with the production of the entire award show. I think between this year and last year, they've gotten their shit together, and I think it's been fantastic. Oh my God, the Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, like when they presented the stunt award, that was great.
Or not, no, it wasn't an award. They just presented like a stunt video of
like a thank you to the stuntsman. But that was hysterical. That was so fucking funny when like Emily was like, "Whoa, with the way that the award show is going, it's not really much of a competition."
So
that was fucking funny.
Did Ryan throw out a money joke?
Yeah,
he should have thrown out.
No,
like
he didn't throw out a money joke. He threw out like a Oppenheimer is like riding Barbie's coattail throughout the summer or something like that.
Okay,
it was something. I think he joked about like Barbenheimer and why it should have been Oppen Barbie or something. But yeah, that was funny. I think everyone, like every presentation except for Al Pacino was fantastic. The whole production of the award show was fantastic. Jimmy Kimmel, not as good as he was in the past, but I think he's, we're comparing him to Joe Coy this year. So
there's never been a good, that saying never is probably wrong, but like I'm 100% confident we will never get a good host.
Go back and watch. I don't love her, but I know.
Future.
I'm just saying.
We got Amy
Ellen
Bryant.
Ellen DeGeneres when she hosted it, whatever year Wolf of Wall Street, Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, I remember that when they like took the picture that broke the internet. Right now can be AI generated and no one would bat an eye at. Like, I can't believe that was like the most like tweet at one point. That's
crazy, insane. That's gonna be a ReelTok prize one day. But all right, that wraps up our Oscar chatter.
Just enjoy the rest of the episode, George and I.
Hey guys, I'm gonna hop out. I'm gonna let you guys get into it. I'm gonna go to bed now. You guys have a wonderful time. I'll see you.
All right, we're about to reintroduce the episode because we weren't sure
if this was gonna work,
if this was gonna be uploaded. So if it's uploaded and you hear me reintroduce this episode, don't worry. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, you're not bugging out. That's normal. And enjoy the rest of the episode. You either just heard us finish talking about the Oscars, or this is the immediate beginning of our episode. It all depends on whether or not, I guess, the production side that Tyler deals with that I can't speak intelligently on worked or didn't work. Because this part, we are recording on Saturday, Tyler and I. If you just heard the Oscars stuff, we recorded that immediately after the Oscars Sunday night. So I don't know. I guess maybe there's a delay in production or it just didn't upload. So this is either 45 minutes into this episode or this is minute number 1. Either way,
perfect.
Let's kick into it. We do have a maybe continued good episode. We hope you enjoyed our Oscar talk.
I'll say just in case, like this is the beginning of the episode. Basically, so the thing is I'm going to be at a hotel when we record our Oscars reactions because I'll be traveling for work. So like hotel Wi-Fi, who knows how good it'll be. And since the Oscars will end at I'll be on the East Coast, so East time. Does that end like 10 Eastern, maybe 11?
Yeah, because I think it starts at 7 this year.
Yeah, I think it starts an hour earlier. So 10 it'll end. So we'll record, probably take an hour, and then we upload 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. So like hotel Wi-Fi, who knows? Upload time might take like 10 hours or something. So if this is the beginning of the episode, then the Oscars will be tomorrow on like a separate Real Quick. We'll just upload it as like a separate Real Quick tomorrow. But hopefully you already heard our Oscars talk, but we'll get into the rest of the episode now.
Yeah, either way, welcome to Real Talk. And we still obviously want to pump out content. So we're here. We got a lot to talk about. On top of what hopefully you guys already heard the Oscar stuff, we're going to talk a lot of new releases this week. Ricky Stanicky, Spaceman, Damsel, Kung Fu Panda 4. A lot of reviews, but I think the good news is none of them are going to really take that long to discuss. You know, this isn't a Dune 2 release where we're going to spend an hour and a half talking about like the intricacies and the details and spoilers. Got a little bit of movie news, a couple of trailers, and then we're going to be introducing a new little segment. I guess we'll call it Hot Take Time. I posted a poll on Twitter asking you guys to drop your hot takes. Tyler and I, we're just going to read them. We're going to react. We're going to discuss. We're going to have a good time. Cam is away. Cam is in Chicago today. Hopefully you just heard him for the Oscars talk because he did say he would join us for that. Seth is in London, I believe. He has an event with Netflix. I think he's there with Josiah and HC Joe. So I'm sure he will talk about it next week on the podcast. I think we're all eager to hear how it went. But let's get into it. Tyler, how you doing, dude? A lot of traveling coming up.
Yeah, a lot of traveling coming up. It's going to be a crazy schedule, but a lot for work, a lot for personal. Got a lot of friends getting married and then bachelor parties on top of it. And yeah, man, life's expensive. Well, traveling is not cheap. Like one of the bachelor parties on a cruise. So that's just like a lot of money that's been blown out the wallet. And Royal Caribbean, I've never been on a cruise, but that's the cruise line we're going on. Seemed like they nickel and dime you for everything. Like there's no Wi-Fi on the cruise, which I don't really need anyways. But if you like add Wi-Fi to the package, it's like whatever, like $40 a day. And then it's like, but only for one device. It's like, oh, do you have two devices? Oh, it's like $50 a day. I'm like, gee, man, they're just nickel and diming you for everything. But had to get the unlimited drink package, obviously, which again is like just even more expensive. But it's a lot of money going out, buying all these flights and buying all these travel stuff. But yeah, I'll be in Charlotte this week for work. Was just there like a month ago. It's a fine city, but yeah, just a lot of travel, been hectic. I'm feeling a little blue this week and don't really know why. Just never fun when like, I feel like it's almost better if you're feeling down in the dumps and there's like a clear reason. You can be like, oh, that is the reason why I'm feeling like sad or down right now. But when it's just like, you know, you're just like feeling blue and you're like, I don't really know like what the reason is. That's always the worst because you just feel like then something's wrong with you. But yeah, you know, been chilling, been vibing, busy weekend, trying to get stuff ready for traveling. But yeah, I'll be gone this whole week. As you can see from hopefully my hotel setup early in this episode, but yeah, all in all, been a fine week. How about yourself?
Good. I went on a cruise for spring break, and dude, they do get you. We did like the unlimited package, obviously for like unlimited drinks and stuff, but that included only like I think it was like 10 or 15 minutes of Wi-Fi a day, and it was per room. So like me and my friend who I was bunking with, like we had to split that, and we both had girlfriends at the time. I mean, we both are still together, but we're both fiancés now. But we both had to I had to text Victoria. He had to text his girlfriend. You don't realize like how quickly that time just flies by. Like opening Wi-Fi, texting Victoria, like, hey, we're all good. Got to log off Wi-Fi. Because if you had exceeded that like 10 or 15 minutes, they hit you with like a $50 charge per day. Yeah. So it was like crazy. They get you. They know how to get you.
Where was that cruise to? Like,
we left from Miami.
And
like where did we
Caribbean
go?
Or something?
Yeah, we went somewhere down. We stopped at maybe like the Bahamas, and then we came back up. I think that was the path. But yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was the second time I'd ever been on a cruise, but the first time was when I was like 4, so I don't much remember it. But yeah, my week was fine. Work is like just kind of getting busy. We're in like basically I'm like, when I was hired a year ago, I was tasked to build a team. But in the time that I was hired, and then for like the remainder of 2023, the entire company was in like a hiring freeze kind of thing. So I could only pull people from internally. Now hiring freeze is lifted. I have a budget to be able to hire people. So this week was kind of a grind, like interviewing a lot of people for this role in New York that I want to hire for. And then on top of that, just planning the rest of the year now that we're kind of heading into like Q2, Q3, Q4. But yeah, just busy, kind of expected stuff. A lot of new releases. Still thinking about Dune, which just I'm going to be thinking about Dune for such a long time. It's unbelievable. My Dune content's just it's got to be so annoying at this point. Even I know it's like annoying.
Mhm. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't like Dune, or even if you do like Dune, it's just like, yeah, it's everywhere on every social media. But people who love it like us, like I'm fine with it.
Not, I'll listen to all the Dune content that's out there. Keep pumping it out. I'm gonna keep pumping it out. You have no idea. But yeah, all in all, good. I work from home 3 of the 5 days this week. Next week, I think I'm gonna start back up with the with like the Monday through Thursday. I was in the office on when was I in the office? I was in the office on Wednesday. And like I'm still like the incision like still hurts. And like when I'm home working, I can like get up and move around a lot more, which like relieves the pain. But like in the office, like I can't just I mean I can, but like I don't want to, but like I can't just like get up every 5 minutes and just like walk outside or something. So like when I was sitting in the office on Wednesday, like even by the time like 11 a.m. hit, I was like sitting in my chair, like fussing, like moving around, just trying to like relieve the pain in any which way possible. So I ended up working from home Thursday and Friday. Hopefully by Monday, I'll be like good to like commit to like a 4-day a week in the office schedule going forward. Cause like I need to be in the office desperately. But other than that, let's keep moving on. What have you been watching? I know we've obviously been watching a lot of the same stuff for the pod, but outside of that, what are we doing?
Yeah, let's see here. So I watched the OG Dune, just keep the Dune talk going. Yeah, I mean, no surprises there. Didn't love it. Thought there's a lot of cool stuff visually. Like I also really love the costume and character design of a lot of people. They made a lot of people a lot more grotesque than like the Denis Villeneuve one, and I enjoyed those aspects of it. But at the end of the day, it was just too crammed. Like Dune Part 1. So the Dune movie is like 2 hours, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 15 minutes. And Dune Part 1 was like an hour and a half of it. And the final 45 minutes was everything that happened in Dune Part 2. So just so much crammed into that. And yeah, I know people are like, oh, David Lynch and studio interference. And yeah, like that's a thing, obviously. But also, at the end of the day, like, the director has to own their movie. And I think it is a bad movie. But, didn't like it's weird because I gave it a 1.5. And honestly, like I think it's just, I think I disliked it more than a 1.5, but I liked it more at the same time as well because I'm like so into Dune right now that I was like, I'm just so into everything about this universe. So I was like, I'm having a good time with it still, but I also like hated so much about it. So it's kind of hard to rate because really didn't like it, but I'm just anything Dune right now is just awesome to me. But watched Straight Outta Compton, which I watched initially, I think like right when it came out and then hadn't watched it since, but I enjoyed it a lot. I forgot Paul Giamatti was in it, which is kind of crazy because he's like one of the main guys and like the main manager. But it's been 9 years since it came out, and I just love Paul Giamatti and everything, man. I literally like was watching it, and I just like stood up and like cheered when I saw him on my screen. I was like, oh fuck yes, he's in this movie, and he's always great. And he always plays the conniving, skeevy businessman role so well. Like I think there's Hangover Part 2 where he's like this
Part 3.
Part 3. I think he might be in both. I think at the end of Part 2, he's like on top of the skyscraper with the helicopter that comes up or whatever. Yeah. He's always, and like obviously Big Fat Liar. He's like a studio executive. He just always plays that, big mean boss man well. But rewatched Mad Max Fury Road. Don't know if you've heard of that movie before. Watch it with Riley. Like I honestly was almost like hiding it from Riley because I was like, I don't think you're gonna like it because it's just like pure action. The plot is, not the reason you're going to the movie. It's just mostly for the visuals and cinematography. But she gave it a 5 off the rip. She absolutely loved it. She does like, I mean, Venom's one of her favorite movies ever. So she's a big Tom Hardy fan. But basically, she just wants to see Furiosa after seeing all the trailers. So then she was like, I was like, well, I guess you kind of have to watch Mad Max Fury Road. So we finally watched it, and she loved it. Rewatched Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. We're just going through like a Harry Potter rewatch, me and Riley, on like the slowest pace ever. Like we watched 1 in like December, 2 in January, and now 3 in March. So we're just like slowly cranking through them. But yeah, Prisoner of Azkaban is obviously one of the greatest of the franchise, if not the greatest. But yeah, great movie. Watched the Godzilla from 2014. I think that movie would absolutely rip an IMAX, but I didn't love. I mean, it's still 3-star, but I didn't fall in love with it from watching it on a TV. But again, if they like re-release that in IMAX, I would go because the first time Godzilla roars in that movie,
crazy at the airport,
crazy, yeah,
insane.
Crazy. I was like, if I saw that in Dolby, this would be like a 5-star movie.
That one scene has my favorite thing and my least favorite thing that they did in the entire movie. My favorite thing was the reveal of Godzilla and the roar. My least favorite thing was cutting away from that fucking fight and making us watch it on a TV in the next scene.
Yeah.
Like That's like the biggest problem of that movie, just how much of a side character Godzilla was in his own movie.
Yeah, no, I can feel that for sure. And there's such a world of movies that I'm so not familiar to. The world of translating like the movie that's on film and in theaters to a release on either streaming or digital. Because I was like, when I watched this, I was thinking that this lighting is so bad. It looks awful. And then I posted that in my review and people were talking about like, yeah, they screwed up the lighting on the translation. Then I Googled it a bit and it was like, when they translated it to like what they were doing for streaming and the physical releases, the lighting got all messed up and apparently looked way different in theaters. So I'm like, that's just like a whole science of world that I'm just so not even familiar with movies, like how you translate something from like playing in a movie theater to then, okay, making it so, because I know when Oppenheimer was being translated to their digital releases and their physical releases, they're talking about like how hard they're working on it in the translation. So obviously it's so much more challenging than just being like, oh yeah, just like, burn it onto a disc, I guess. But that's just, again, a world that I'm just not familiar with. Watch Ricky Stanicky, which we'll talk about. The Wrong Missy. Shout out to our patrons for making us watch that. We'll be talking about that in the Patreon exclusive review, along with Bo Burnham's Inside. We're going to do a little 2-piece this week. Watch Network by Sidney Lumet. Been kind of going through his filmography a bit. 12 Angry Men, obviously being the main one most people know him from, but then also watched Dog Day Afternoon and now Network. And I guess I skipped over Dog Day Afternoon, but I love that. Might be my favorite Al Pacino performance ever. And Amazon's just getting me, man, with buying all these digital movies, because all these older movies especially are like rent for $3.99 for 24 hours or buy for $4.99. So I'm like, fuck it, man, $1 more, let's just buy it. So I'm just accumulating an Amazon Prime Video library now. But I'm excited because that David Dastmalchian movie coming out, Let the Right One In, I think is what it's called. That's like apparently like Network is kind of what it's like, a horror movie version of Network. So I'm excited to see what that is, because that trailer was just insane. And then rewatch Mamma Mia. Don't know if you've heard of that one. It's
You've rewatched that like 3 times in the last 4 weeks.
It's my 6th vlog of 2024. Like, it's just 2024 alone, I've seen it 6 times. It's just such a comfort movie to me, man. I love ABBA. I'll never get sick of ABBA. Shout out Owen Pat Nod for Pigskin. He released his latest short film. Watch that. And then Damsel, which we'll touch on as well. But yeah, a lot of great, a lot of shit this week. No, not a lot of mid. Godzilla is like the only mid movie I watched this week. The rest were either like awesome or terrible.
Yeah, kind of the same for me. A lot of great and a lot of shit. The Wrong Missy, which obviously we'll probably talk about for like half a second on our Real Quick this week. Same with Damsel and Ricky Stanicky. Just kind of a lot of less than appealing new releases. Which we'll go into in the later part of our episode. Same with Spaceman. Jesus, I forgot about that. All these movies just in one ear, out the other. It's kind of hilarious. Rewatched Top Gun Maverick. Loved it so much more than I like remember loving it coming out of the theater. And that's not to say I ever like disliked it. I always thought it was a fantastic movie. It was always like one of the better 2022 releases in my mind. But I raised my score from a 4 to 4.5. I just had like such a fun, like inspiring, like euphoric experience with it this time around. Everything Everywhere All at Once I rewatched, which is I think you've lowered your score to a 4 or a 4.5.
Yeah, I can't. I've watched it probably 2 or 3 times since it initially got released, and yeah, I think I loved it in the theater, and I think I've gotten a little lower on it, but there's still a lot of great stuff about it for sure.
Yeah. I know people's criticisms. It's like the hot dog fingers, like that part just runs a little bit too long. But like I think what this movie like does right, it does just so exceptionally incredibly. And I love watching it every single time. Every time I watch it, I get more mad that Stephanie Sue did not win that Oscar and Jamie Lee Curtis did.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis was so whatever.
Dude, I know we bring it up like every single episode, but it is really just the most absurd decision they've ever made.
Well, who knows? If we already did our Oscars talk, maybe there was an even crazier decision this year. Maybe Annette Bening is an Oscar winner.
I don't hope that one, but I hope they do something like ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I'm trying to think, like I obviously want the Oscar, the Oppie sweep, and I hope we've already discussed the Oppie sweep, but like give me some crazy shit. I saw Love Lies Bleeding. I was gonna add it to our review section of this episode, but I want to wait for you guys to watch it to talk about, because I think this could be a movie that we like really, really talk about. It was a really
and it
good
comes
movie.
out next week. Why?
Yeah,
so it's not like a super long time away.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to reserve my thoughts for all of us to discuss it together next week because I think this
Nice.
would be a very fun conversation.
But you did give it a
Um,
4-star, right?
yeah, 4-star. Which I'm on like the lower end.
Wow.
Chris gave it a 4.5. This other guy I follow gave it a 5. So that's just, and I still had a blast with it. So
Have you
that's,
seen Saint Maud? I know that's the only other film I
yeah.
know you have. Did you like it? Or no? I haven't seen it.
I mean, I don't. I think I have it at like a 2.5 or a 3-star. It was
Okay.
just very. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it's very like I felt uncomfortable watching it the entire time. Like it doesn't shy away from like there's a rape scene and you're just kind of forced to watch it for like 10 minutes and it's just very uncomfortable. And it's just I don't know. It was an experience that I just didn't really care for just because I didn't like the way it made me feel. But also again, I'm on like the lower end of the spectrum for Saint Maud. Like I think Sydney really likes it. I think she has it at a 4-star. So I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a rewatch. I haven't seen it since its release. I watched the OG Godzilla finally from '54. Kind of been, I don't know. I've like weirdly been putting it off just because I like cared more to watch the more recent era of Godzilla prior to -1. But I finally got around to watching the '54 one, and you can so clearly just see, even like the American Lionsgate Godzilla films, just how much this movie inspires everything. It was a really fun experience. The practical effects were awesome. I think they're laughable, and I think it's perfectly fine to say that like you can laugh while watching it, like it's funny. But like the themes of the movie cannot be understated, which I think is like the strongest aspects of these films. Bo Burnham's inside, like you said, which we'll discuss on the real quick, which I'm really excited to talk about. And then shout out Owen, like you said, I believe this is his like 7th or 8th short film, and this is like I think this is like the 4th or 5th one he's done while in film school. So just a nice little progression of his career. It's awesome to see him, doing what he loves. Last night I watched this Greek film called Apples. Massive flex, not having to use subtitles. Just want to throw that out there. Fuck all of you.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little flex. Just a little flex. Really good movie. Really sad movie. I went into it. The only reason I watched it is because I literally searched on Letterboxd Greek language films. And it was the only one that any of my mutuals had seen. Marta had seen it.
You're just feeling Greek last night?
I was just feeling Greek. I was like, you know what? Let me watch some Greek. A while ago, I had a conversation with my uncle, and I remember he gave me like a list of Greek films to watch. I don't know where I put that list, so I'm hoping this was on that list. But yeah, I was like, fuck it, let's just toss on a Greek film. Let me flex the no subtitles to everyone. But really, really good movie. Kind of sad about this guy that develops amnesia, and he kind of has to go through this like really taxing and just dreadful like recovery program, I guess. Very introspective, very philosophical. It's going to make you think. It hasn't left my mind since yesterday. So much so to the point where I'm like inclined to raise my score from a 4 to a 4.5 just because of the lasting impression that it's leaving on me.
Wow.
But really good movie. Highly recommend. And then I think that's it. Kung Fu Panda 4, which we'll obviously talk about.
How fluent are you in Greek? Are you like fully like exactly the same as English, or is it like when you're watching the movie? Were you picking up on 100%, or did like a 1% slip through the cracks?
Yeah, some things slip through the cracks here and there. Also, even just like talking to like my grandma and my uncles in Greek, like there are moments where I can't keep up with them. Like I've lost it over the years just because I don't like. Or I haven't lost it, but it's diminished over the years because I don't speak it as often as I used to. But I still got it. I can't write it as well as I can speak it, though. That's like the big thing. It took me, I don't know if you saw my Letterboxd review, half of it is in Greek, and that took me 4 hours to piece together. And I still don't know if it's good. What else? I think the last thing was The Matrix Reloaded. Been meaning to rewatch that. I'm seeing The Matrix. It's being re-released in theaters, I think on March 20th. So Sophie and I got tickets to that. So I figured I would rewatch The Matrix Reloaded because why not watch the second film before the first film?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people hold this very highly. I think Doug has it at a 5-star. I think Owen has it at a 4.5 star. A couple of my other mutuals have it at 4.5 and 4. So a lot of people regard this as like one of the best sequels ever, which is obviously a hot topic with Dune 2 out. I don't know. I leave this experience and I just kind of think to myself, like, what could have been. Like, I think The Matrix 1 just kind of sets up this world just so brilliantly, and it's just such a cool fucking like world to be a part of. And I think The Matrix 2 just kind of relies on like your experience with the first Matrix. And I don't think that's a good way to go about filmmaking, because it just kind of leaves you with like this bland feeling. And that's not to say I didn't like it. I think there's some really cool fucking moments in this movie. I think they upped the ante on like the action set pieces, and that's kind of what's holding my rating up. But everything narratively just kind of goes in one ear, out the other. It's a lot of stuff I just don't find myself caring about. But I could absolutely see why everyone loves this movie, or most people love this movie. But that's it for kind of what I've been watching. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, because everything else we're going to be talking about. All right, so that's about it. Let's get into our reviews. Which one do we think we're going to spend the least time on? I'd imagine Spaceman.
Least time on Spaceman.
Yeah, probably Spaceman. All right, so let's start with Spaceman. Collectively, it seems like everyone's just like disappointed with this. I think outside of the sea of 1, 1.5, and 2 stars, I think I've seen like one person give this above a 3 star. So it's just like not being received too well. So starring Adam Sandler, directed by Johan Renck. During a research mission, an astronaut discovers that his marriage is in trouble. Luckily, he has the help of a mysterious creature hidden in his ship. I'm going to throw out a spoiler warning now. I don't think there's anything in this movie to particularly spoil, but just in case we just happen to talk about something, I don't think this is a movie anyone cares to have spoiled.
No.
But you can kick us off. I think you were like one of the lower ones on this. I mean, everyone was low, but you gave it a 1. Yeah, 1. I'm looking at it now. So what were your thoughts on Spaceman? What didn't land for you?
Yeah, like, I mean, they try and do a lot with, philosophically, Adam Sandler is a man who's losing his marriage with Carey Mulligan, and he's on this mission that's exploring places we've never seen in space before. And through that, there's a spider on ship that kind of talks him through his life, and Adam Sandler kind of reassesses, his marriage, what he's done with his career, where he's devoted his time. Like, it worked. Like, I get what they were going for, and I think in a lot of ways it did work. But just in good consciousness, I couldn't put anything higher than like a 1. Like, I was close to a 0.5 star, just simply because the spider played by Paul Dano that just kept calling Adam Sandler skinny human. It was so grating, and I don't know why it bothered me so much, but every time it said, like, called him skinny human, it annoyed me so much where I just wanted to shut this off.
You had texted, I texted you guys like, now watching Spaceman, and you had texted like, enjoy the skinny human comments. And I'm like, okay, it's probably like once or twice, and it's just like really annoying. It was every 5 minutes.
It not was, exaggerating, probably says it 70, dude, 75
it was
times.
So infuriating, because I really expected it to be like, all right, like, what's pissing Tyler off? Maybe he says it like once, twice, and it's just like in like bad context. But no, it's just every single, like every other thing out of the spider's mouth just ended with skinny human. I'm like, oh my God, shut up.
Yeah, it's like people who talk on walkie-talkies, how they end every statement with over. Like, the spider ended every statement with skinny human, calling Adam Sandler that. And that just was just such nails on a chalkboard to me that just, like, again, in good faith, I couldn't rate this any higher than a 1, because it was so annoying to me that I wanted to turn this movie off so many times. But again, like, yeah, there's stuff that works here. I found it to be a little shallow, but I'll admit things worked here. And if it wasn't for the skinny human, honestly, it could have been like 2.5, which is probably where I think is more accurately like this movie lands. Is like, it's a very mid movie. Like, it's not the worst movie ever made. But Carey Mulligan's kind of weird here. She's the wife back home. Most of her scenes are like her through like a webcam video that he's watching, and Paul Dano just voicing a spider. It's just kind of a weird cast with Adam Sandler, Carey Mulligan, and Paul Dano. Like, what are they all doing here? And it's not even one I can really say, like, I at least enjoyed Adam Sandler's performance, because I thought this wasn't good. Like, I mean, we've seen him in the past, like in the early 2000s, he had some great performances. And then we've seen more recently with Uncut Gems, with Hustle, He's starting to do more dramatic roles well again, but then this just was a nothing burger, and I don't know. Just 1 star for me. I wouldn't really recommend this to anyone. Swing and a miss for me.
Yeah, massive swing and a miss. And I wrote in my letterbox review, like, I can't even say Adam Sandler innocent because I just I don't know. I get that he wants to like push towards these more like nuanced performances. Obviously, you mentioned Uncut Gems and Hustlers, which are definitely testing his acting chops. And I think over the years, he's proven, even with like as early as Punch Drunk Love, he's proven that he can like pull off these more dramatic roles. I don't think this is the role for him. I think, maybe it's not his fault. The script was obviously really shitty. I think there was an attempt at being like overly thematic and philosophical that just kind of came off very shallow and one-dimensional. I would love to talk to Carrie Mulligan and just understand her thought process. Like, what about this project made her say yes? Either maybe it was just a bag that Netflix offered her, or maybe she just really wanted to work with Adam Sandler and Paul Dano. But I think my biggest problem with this movie is it feels like it's trying to rip off every single science fiction film that's ever come out in the past. Like, as I was watching it, I was like, okay, this feels very like Ad Astra-ish. This feels very like Interstellar-ish, even Danny Boyle's Sunshine-ish at times. And the entire time I'm like, but it's done in like a much shittier, really annoying to watch way. Like, everything's been done better. It's like the conversation we had like for A Few Good Men. Like, it's a fun watch, but like it's just been done better countless times. And this movie it sounds like Adam Sandler just kind of watched a bunch of science fiction films and was like, yeah, that's easy. I could do that very simply. And it just kind of didn't land for me. Everything kind of falls flat, which just made for a really bland and boring experience. Obviously the skinny human was just annoying, but like, I also think Paul Dano was just, I get that like his voice acting was meant to be very like calm and melodramatic, but I don't know. It came off very like, I'm here for a check. I'm not here because I like genuinely care about this project. I'm just here to cash a check. You need my voice, cool. It'll take me 3 days to record this, and then I'll cash in my hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the whole movie just kind of feels like they phoned it in, which also just made for like a very upsetting experience because the trailer was promising. I think we discussed the trailer on this podcast. I vaguely remember, I think like all of us were like not excited, but curious. So the experience was just like a massive letdown. I give it a 1.5 stars. I'll never revisit this, obviously. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. I imagine this is going to be like one of the lower rated films on my 2024 watch list that just never leaves like that bottom 15 spot. But yeah, that's about Spaceman. Universally kind of not received too well. Is there anything else we want to discuss on Spaceman? I feel like, I don't know. I don't much care to like go into like spoiler talk on Spaceman. It's not a movie that like we need to waste our time on. And I think we'll talk a little bit more. Did you watch Damsel?
I did yesterday. Did you?
All right. I did. Yeah. I watched in the morning, started my day with that. So from one stinky poo-poo Netflix original to another stinky poo-poo Netflix original. Damsel was, I don't know, not good. We'll start there. Not the most intellectual way to talk about a movie. But for some reason, like, I had high expectations. Like, I really do like Millie Bobby Brown as an actress. I think she has like a lot of potential. Obviously, she's fantastic in Stranger Things. I think even with like the crappy script she has to work with in all the Godzilla movies, she still proves herself to be like a competent actress. And I understand, like, I know even myself, I'm like, she needs a new agent. It's not necessarily her agent's fault. I'm pretty sure she signed like a contract with Netflix at like 16, where she just needs to keep pumping out like a certain amount of movies. So from a monetary standpoint, her agent has obviously like secured her future. She could retire right now and she'd be good to go. Her grandkids would never need to work. But I think just from like picking up projects that matter, I think she needs a new agent. For some reason, I went into this with like higher hopes. I think just the medieval genre, anything that has a potential of like fulfilling like what I love about movies, which is just like a lot of fun lore, especially in like fantasy science fiction. So I like had, no, I wouldn't say high expectations, but I went in like fairly excited. Um, my biggest problem with this movie is the same problem I had with the Rings of Power TV show. It is too clean. Like, we need to stop that. We need to stop with these like overly polished medieval fantasy movies. Shogun just released, which I think you should watch, by the way, really good show. And it's dirty. It like the world feels lived in, which I love that aspect. Same thing with Game of Thrones. Like these worlds just feel lived in. That makes your experience so much more immersive. And Damsel is just, it's so polished. It's too clean. Even when she's in that cave, and again, I'm going to drop just spoiler warning. Don't care to spoil any part of this movie, but just in case we drop something randomly. But like even when she's in the cave and she's like navigating her way through and she's like covered in mud, I was like, this just looks too polished. Like it just doesn't look like fantastic. And it just kind of removes me from any part of this movie. But on top of that, I think it's just a really lazy attempt at like lore dissection. It feels very one-dimensional. It feels very surface level. I like that Millie Bobby Brown like committed to this role because, again, I'll defend her. I think she's a good actress. I just think she needs better projects to work with. This was not it. The script was just so bland, and she kind of did the best she could with it. Even like you have Angela Bassett, who's just a fantastic actress. Even her supporting cast was just like there. They were just there. Didn't provide me with anything. The movie's sense of urgency and the stakes just didn't feel as high as they should have. Like at its core, this is like a really like, it's a dark story. Like she was sacrificed to a dragon. Like this should have been like a little bit more, I guess, of a heartbreaking, dreadful experience, but it came off just very cartoonish. Which obviously just did not make for a fun experience. I wrote in my Letterboxd review that it feels very elementary. And by that, I just feel like anyone with a little bit of writing history could have written this movie and even maybe could have written it better. But what about you? What were your thoughts? I don't even think I saw your review. What did you give this?
I give it 1 star. Yeah. It's yeah, I don't know how these contracts with streaming services work. I think Adam Sandler's only like publicly known like multi-film Netflix deal he has. And I don't know if it's like, you know, Carey Mulligan, we just talked about her. She was in Spaceman, but she's also in Maestro, which is a Netflix film. And she's been in multiple other Netflix films. Millie Bobby Brown, obviously Damsel, the Enola Holmes are Netflix, Stranger Things. So I wonder if it's a matter of they all have these multi-deals where it's like anytime you sign on to a Netflix project, it's like one gets knocked off your contract. Or if it's just like, you know, they've worked with Netflix before. They have the contacts. They're working relationships. It's like, hey, I've worked with you before. We have this new project. You want to be in on it? Probably a little bit of mixture of both of these people. Whereas Millie Bobby Brown, I feel like, feels more specifically like she has to have some Netflix deal where she has to be in these originals with Netflix for a while. But yeah, she needs an agent to get her out of that. I thought the dragon design was pretty cool, but I thought most of the visuals were really bad in this movie.
Dude, I really swear. Bad. Sorry to interrupt you on the dragon. At the end. Not even at the end. Throughout the movie, the dragon flies. When the dragon flies, the only part, he looks like, I don't know how to word this. He literally looks like a cardboard cutout. Like his body's not moving. Like it is
when he flies.
Yeah, it is so still. Like it is so clearly like a fake. Obviously, it's a fake dragon, but like it just looks like dead weight. Like he's not moving. It's the craziest thing in the world. And it looks like everything around him is moving. So it looks like, you know, in Barbie, when they're like riding a bike and like the bike isn't moving, but the set behind them is moving. Yep. That's what it looked like. And the entire time I'm watching, I'm like, dude, they could have done a little bit better with that.
Yeah, it's just not great. You talked about the writing. Have you seen Wrath of the Titans? Is that the sequel to Clash of the Titans?
Sequel. Yep.
Yeah, so that has a 2.2 star on Letterboxd. That was written by the same person, but the most recent movie this person's written, Fast X.
Oh my God.
And then, but there's some positives in the production that just leave me scratching my head. So this film was shot by Larry Fong, who has shot all of the Snyder films. So like Batman vs Superman, Snyder Cut, Watchmen, Kong Skull Island, 300. So like cinematography's there. We have a great cinematographer, but just didn't feel that through this movie. And then where else? Production design. Also, the same guy does all Snyder as well as iRobot. Some of the Die Hard movies, like cool production design. You expect it to be better. But then you have the editor, John Gilbert, who's edited the Sweet Life movie. Beethoven's Fifth, like all these Disney originals, Beethoven's Christmas Adventure. So like you have like a goated production designer, a great cinematographer, then you pair him with a writer who has barely any experience. The experience they do have is from like Fast 10. And then the editor is someone who's only edited Disney original movies. Like Netflix just really is just like a guns for hire production company right now. It's just like anyone who's like has a break in their resume that needs some work. They're just like, sure, I don't care if you have any qualifications for this whatsoever or what other work you've done like that could translate to this. Like you're just free right now and you can get this job. Like I don't know. It was just the big thing is like again similar to Spaceman. Is this the worst movie I've ever seen? Far from it. But I just couldn't care about anything going on in this. I feel like she was trapped for so long, but the stakes were so low that I was just couldn't care less. She's trying to escape. And then towards the end, especially the final fight scene, that might've had a lot of reshoots or something. Cause that looked especially ugly when like Millie Bobby Brown was being flung everywhere and her face looked super like digitally altered or something. Like something was going on there. I don't know. They just like tried to transpose her face onto the stunt woman or something, but yeah, the big thing here is it wasn't as annoying or awful to me as Spaceman, even though I give it the same rating, but I just couldn't care at all about anything going on. So it's a 1 star for me.
I will say there was one cool shot where like the camera was looking up at Millie Bobby Brown and the dragon was like overhead. That shot, I was like, okay, this is badass. But like the remainder of the movie, I was looking at like how much time was left pretty much the entire time. Yeah. Just a really like poor attempt at like, I don't even want to say creating the next fairy tale epic because like I don't think that's ever Netflix's goal to create these next epic movies that are like truly going to hit us the way like you know other big blockbusters hit us nowadays. But yeah, it was just a really really dreadful watch. I think my 2 stars is generous, but I feel like I've just been overly aggressive towards film lately. So who knows? I think I'll probably lower to a 1.5 by the time we're done with this episode. Next up, Ricky Stanicky.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. What were your thoughts on Mr. Ricky Stanicky?
You know, I guess Cam isn't here, but Cam hated it. Like hated this movie.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, he gave it a 1 star. To me, this is a 2.5 star, but this movie is like most comedies are so mood dependent that I could have easily seen me enjoying this. Like this is a 2.5 star, but I fully could see myself rewatching this again in the future. Like if I'm just having like a lazy night and I just want to throw on like an easy comedy. Like I could see myself rewatching this. There's a lot of fun stuff here. But I just didn't love it. I think especially the main issue for me was it was 2 hours long. And I think the story only merited probably an hour and a half. And I feel like some of that stretch in the middle made it what kind of fell flat in a lot of comedy beats, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I think if I was, came home from a night out or something and wanted to watch a silly comedy, I would enjoy this. I do like Zac Efron a lot. Love John Cena. Let's see the rest of the cast. Andrew Santino. I think he's pretty funny. And then Jermaine Fowler. I really liked him in The Blackening from last year. And I think he's good in this once again. So, I mean, I like a lot of the cast and there was definitely surely some comedy that worked for me, but ultimately it was a kind of just B tier, C tier comedy at the end of the day, but I definitely didn't hate it. But I could see, I guess, I don't know, if I was in a different mindset, maybe I would hate it more, but it's the first film directed by Peter Farrelly since winning Best Director and Best Picture for Green Book. So just a wild career going from Green Book to Ricky Stanicky. And then the cinematographer, funny enough, you love one of their movies, Lake Mungo, the cinematographer of Lake Mungo.
Oh, really?
Very different as the cinematographer of Ricky Stanicky.
I'm looking at Peter Farrelly's history now. Dumb and Dumber, movie 43, which is like the worst movie ever. Osmosis Jones.
What?
Dude, what?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Look at like how did people let this guy get an Oscar for his one attempt at a serious-ish movie?
Yeah, seriously. How did he write Green Book too? Because there's no way someone looked at him and was like, yeah, I want him to direct this movie. Hold on.
He was one of 3 writers, so yeah, I don't know. That might have just been he was a director and influenced a little bit of things, but yeah,
that's insane. That's a funny ass career path. Dude,
Yeah.
Osmosis Jones, just seeing that just unlocked so many memories.
I had never even heard of that. Is that something you watched as a kid?
Really?
Yeah, no.
Oh my God, dude. They used to play that in school in science class. I swear we watched it like once a month in school.
Oh wow.
Every
Yeah.
single year, they would
Never.
play Osmosis Jones for us.
No. Yeah.
You've
I
never heard of Osmosis Jones?
never even heard of it, man.
That's crazy. Wow. That was like such a staple of my childhood, or at least like my like movie, more like school experience, I'll say. But damn, it's like a live action animated hybrid movie, I guess, where like there's like germ cells and like these things going on in Bill Murray's body. So like when you're inside his body, it's like the germs talking to each other and it's animated. And then when you're like in the real world, it's obviously live action.
Mhm.
Wow, I can't believe I just saw this. That unlocked so many fucking memories. Back to Ricky Stanicky. I think you kind of explained it perfectly. I come home at midnight, 1 a.m. from a night out with my boys, and I just want something stupid. This is probably what I'm going to throw on next time. I think from the trailer, including myself, everyone kind of expected this to be like a little fun return to like the raunchy 2000s comedy. I don't think it hit that well. I think this movie kind of falls off a cliff after a while, and a lot of like the recurring gags and jokes just kind of get stale pretty fast. I still laughed my way through it because I think Robert Pattinson, wow. I think where did that come from? I think John Cena and Zac Efron are just two actors who have just completely perfected their comedic timing over the years, and I think they're both fucking brilliant. I also said in my TikTok review, if anything, I think this movie just shows Zac Efron's like insane range, going from the Iron Claw to Ricky Stanicky, and like going from a movie where 99% of people think he should have been nominated or even won an Oscar for Best Actor to a film like Ricky Stanicky, where he's just so not serious and he's just kind of like playing himself. Maybe he was just handed a script and they said, just have fun with it, dude. So it's fun watching his range. Same thing with John Cena, even though I think he's like obviously heavily leaning towards comedy, but like, I don't know if you ever saw Peacemaker, the DC TV show that James Gunn did.
Yep.
But that is like the show and the character very rooted in comedy, but it is like one of his more dramatic roles. So I think that just shows his range. And then also just in Ricky Stanicky, obviously he's fucking hysterical. But yeah, nothing special here. It's not that like return to like the Hangover, super bad Talladega Nights days that I think everyone was kind of expecting. It's funny. I had a good time with it. If someone asks if they should watch it, I'll say yes. But I think you're absolutely right where it's like mood dependent. Like I could see Cam just having been in such like a shitty mood yesterday and just disliking this movie. Because I think if I watched this movie last night after I watched that depressing Greek movie, I think I would have given this like a half star. I think I was just in like, I don't know. I woke up, I was like, oh, it's Ricky Stanicky day. And I was just like in a hype mood to watch Ricky Stanicky for some reason. And I just had a good time. I was like watching this. It was like kind of in the background while I was working. And I was like, oh, it's funny. It's fun.
Yeah, I'd recommend it to anyone. I would say like for anyone who hasn't watched it yet, it's exactly what you're going to expect from the trailers. And it kind of spells it out in the trailers. Like they are just a group of guys who've been friends forever. And anytime that they want to, go to a football game or go to the bars or go on a golf trip or like something that like their wives normally wouldn't want them to go do, or they'd rather be having them stay home, be a parent or be a husband or just not gone all the time. They'll just make up and say like, oh, Ricky Stanicky has cancer or something. We're going to go visit him, or Ricky Stanicky needs our help moving and we're going to go help him. So they just make up this character in their mind from when they were a kid to get them out of trouble to all the way to now getting them out of doing stuff with their wives. So it's exactly what you see in the trailer. And John Cena, of course, they end up hiring him to be the Ricky Stanicky when everyone starts getting suspicious of like, you guys talk about this guy all the time. We've never seen him. And we have some major life milestone events like baby showers and weddings. Like you'd think a friend who's so close that you guys travel for would show up to these. So they hire him. And I mean, John Cena does well. Like he's like an actor in the movie in terms of like, that's his profession. He's kind of just this guy trying to scrape by, but he does his role well. Like he shows up to their house. He's like researched all their lives. He knows everything about them, plays it perfectly. And then he ultimately, eventually gets hired at their dad's company because they basically, this Ricky Stanicky guy they made up is such a humanitarian, such a great guy, does everything right, the best person you ever heard of. So the dad's like, well, shit, I'll hire him. And then John Cena is just like a savage dude. So he just speaks back to him and he's not just a yes man or a yes sir. And of course, as you'd expect, like the twist is that, the dad starts liking that. It's like, oh, finally someone's like, putting their foot down and not just telling me everything I want to hear and making me confront my decisions. But yeah, it kind of goes from there. It's funny. The one thing that does bother me though is like, you talk about returning to the raunchy rom-com or raunchy comedy period. It's not really rom-com. The poster and all the alternate posters, I think, like you can't really escape the big yellow, like an R-rated comedy thing on the top of it, which is on Letterboxd. Like basically half the posters have this big like yellow sticker that says an R-rated comedy. And it's like, this is just such a normal, safe comedy that like, yeah, sure. Like it earned this R rating with some swear words, but like, it's just so not something you need to be publicizing, saying like this is such an R rated. Like it's not like there's crazy amounts like nudity or gore or like a crazy amounts of drugs and drinking. Like it's kind of almost just like the bare minimum of what you'd expect from an R-rated movie in terms of like earning an R rating. Like I feel like you could have actually made this movie PG-13. Like, but there's
it just squeaked by that R rating.
Right.
Had like one too many fucks in it, and that was
it's
that
just
was like the entire.
It's just so crazy to me that they're marketing that so heavily that this is R-rated. Whereas like Joyride from last year, whether people like that movie or not, like that was very, very raunchy. Like you see a lot of stuff that's clearly R-rated, and they make a lot of more suggestive moments in this movie would where. Yeah, there's just like a PG-13 kind of comedy that, it's fun. I think if I was in college and threw this on with the boys at night, I'd have a good time with it. So I would recommend it still.
That seems to be everyone's biggest takeaway. Like no one's watching this movie because they want to like watch a movie that they have to like care about. You're watching this movie because you want just like some fun times. I lost my mind when they were talking about testicular cancer and they were like, do they got to remove the other one? And then one of his friends goes, nah, I think you need at least one to survive. I was and that was like the first scene of the movie. So I was like, oh, we're starting off strong. This is about to be a 4.5 star comedy.
The crazy thing is like, I guess like spoiler, but like comedies you can't really spoil. Like it's like, basically they find out Ricky Stanicky wasn't really their friend their whole life. And then Zac Efron's wife, I guess she is, or fiance, whatever she is to him, like, they've been together a long time. I feel like she just forgives him a little too easily. Like it's because she hears like one recording of him saying like how much he loves her. It's like he kind of just lied to you for like, I don't know,
years,
like 10 years or something, like of just getting out of stuff that is like just super shitty to do. Like generally, like if you just want to go like have a night out with the friends, like that's fine. But like, the one guy misses the birth of his child. Like these are things like
hilarious.
I don't think you should just be, well, you do love me, so it's fine. Yeah, they commit arson at the beginning of the movie. Like this is, I don't know. I feel like lying for this many years and getting out of stuff that you should have just been a man and just like, no, I don't want to do this with you. I want to do this with the boys. Like, I feel like he just got forgiven a little too easily by his wife. Zac Efron did. But whereas I don't think, because dude, it's just like your whole life was a lie at that point. Like everything in your whole life was a lie to your whole family and friends. Like I don't know how you can ever come back from that, but Zac Efron's good looking enough to overcome that, I guess.
Yeah, real of my friends. Like I like that new feature on Letterboxd, by the way. It's got a 2.6 rating, so like not as low as you would expect. Like it's got a lot of 3 stars floating around, which I really didn't expect coming out of it. Cam with the 1 star is the lowest. Even Sam Cosplays, she gave it a 2 star, and that was like the only 2 star I saw. So it's being generally well received. But that's Ricky Stanicky. Watch it if you want to have a good time. But let's get into probably, I guess, the biggest review of the week, which is Kung Fu Panda 4, 4th installment of the Kung Fu Panda franchise. Jack Black reprises his role. I never saw the TV show, so I'm not including that when I say franchise. Joined this time around by Awkwafina, Viola Davis, Ke Huy Quan, Dustin Hoffman is reprising his role. Ian McShane is reprising his role. Bryan Cranston is here for a little bit. You can start us off. We both just watched it this morning. We both didn't love it. So what were your thoughts on Kung Fu Panda 4?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm trying to see like all the Kung Fu Panda stuff there is, because there's Kung Fu Panda, obviously there's the 4th film, feature film, but there's also been the TV show that's on Nickelodeon, but there's also like Secrets of the Furious Five, Kung Fu Panda Holiday, Kung Fu Panda Secrets of the Masters, Secrets of the Scrolls, Panda Paws, The Emperor's Quest. So there's a lot of like probably TV films as well. So there's a lot of Kung Fu Panda lore that I'm missing out on because I've only seen the feature films. But yeah, I mean, clearly it felt like they're trying to wrap up, the franchise as a whole. I mean, maybe they'll continue with Nickelodeon stuff or something, but I don't really see like a Kung Fu Panda 5 coming out of this. Not in terms of like this being a bad movie or a flop. Like I didn't love it, but I just feel like in terms of the way they end this, they kind of are just like, yeah, we'll kind of tie a bow on it a bit here. And I don't really feel like it was the most satisfying ending to the franchise. I think for me, Kung Fu Panda 1 is the best. 2 is a minor step down, like a hair. I mean, any day of the week I could flip if 1 or 2 is better. But then 3, I think, is a chunk down from there, but not terrible. And then I think is another chunk down. So I think in general, the franchise is kind of worn out on me as it's gone on. And I think by this point, I'm just not really invested or interested in it. I think so. When the first trailer came out, the big reactions were like, oh, the Furious 5 isn't in this. They weren't shown in the trailer, but then they kind of confirmed saying, you know what? No, they will be in this. But the trailer kind of proved true in terms of being concerning, in terms of the fact of like, they're not in this much. Mostly you get the Fox that is played by Aquafina. She's kind of taking that sidekick role in this, but yeah, the Furious 5 there's a reason they weren't in the trailer. They are barely in this movie whatsoever. And I feel like they just had such a great rapport and such a dynamic, diverse group of characters that just played well with the comedy throughout the first 3 movies. That was kind of missing from this. It was kind of just Jack Black and Aquafina for most of this movie. Then you get Tai Lung at the end, which again, just kind of anticlimactic. Didn't really care for it much. The best thing from this movie though, is that the end credit scene with the Hit Me Baby One More Time Tenacious D remix, that's in my head. So it's leaving a lasting impression because that's going to be in my head for the next week for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It wraps up the franchise. Is it in a satisfying way? Not really. Did this ruin anything about the franchise? I don't really think so. I don't think this is a terrible movie. I think it's maybe on par with Ricky Stanicky, but I was gonna say probably like the best movie of the 4 we're reviewing. It's clearly better to me than Damsel or Spaceman. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's time to kind of send this franchise off into the sunset. I don't know if there's much more ground for it, and especially for people who like grew up with it, if they were watching all the shows and all these TV movies, like double as much content as there actually is that we've seen. I can imagine a lot of people are probably like ready for this to go off into the sunset, but it was fun while it lasted. I've loved Jack Black in this role. I thought he was a great casting. He's been such a blast as Poe. Love the relationship with both his adoptive father and his real father. It's kind of more to speaking to the franchise as a whole, but this is a very fun franchise in general. Not my favorite. I think the first one's the top for me at like 3.5. Maybe I gave it a 4. I can't remember. Let me see. I have it right here actually. So the first one I gave it a 4, and then a 3.5, and then a 3, and then I think it's gonna be like a 2.5. So, good solid franchise that I have fun with. I think the first one specifically will be something I will rewatch in years to come. Still, I have a lot of fun with it. But ultimately, I think Poe as a character is best when he's kind of this failing kung fu guy who's not great at what he does, and it's just fun watching him in the first film failing his way into being the chosen one, and then the second film, like he is the chosen one working with the Furious 5, but he's still learning the ropes. And then I think kind of that's why it lost its luster in the third and fourth, where obviously he's still kind of not the greatest kung fu master to ever exist, but he's more competent. He's been in the Furious 5 for a while. He kind of has the hang of things, and I feel like that's just not as fun for his character. I think his movies are best when he's just terrible and just failing at everything he's doing, and all he's focusing on is eating as much food as possible. But yeah, kind of leave it there. I enjoyed this for what it was. It's probably 2.5 stars. Definitely didn't hate it, but I'm not really excited to see any more from this franchise.
Yeah, this has to be like the one franchise where you and I are just 100% in line. I go 4 stars for the first one, 3.5 for the second, and it's just a slight hair down. 3 stars for the third, and I did rate this one a 2.5. So if you go with a 2.5, we'll be 100% on ratings.
Look at us.
Kind of agree with you in everything you just say. I say this so like unironically, and I'm not even trying to be funny. This movie just lacks the sauce. There are a lot of just like really stale and bland moments, which is just not necessarily what you want at a Kung Fu Panda movie, especially with what you said about like the first movie, where he's just kind of like failing his way upwards. I think that's just a really fun narrative, and it made for just such a fun like movie. And then they kind of carried that into 2 and 3, where he's just continuing being like this like dragon warrior who should definitely not be the dragon warrior, but he just always just finds himself like succeeding. And it's just always a fun time. But this movie just lacks that like charm and charisma. I think it just kind of moves along with no intent. There's no goal. There's so much like, I don't know. I think the best way to put it is there's just so much wasted potential. I know a lot of people were like really wanting the Furious Five to come back. And I absolutely was one of those people. I think the dynamic between Poe and the Furious Five is just one of the stronger aspects of the first three films. And we just don't get that in this movie, obviously. I think that is the one thing I'll disagree with you on. I know this movie like kind of like paints it like riding off into the sunset, franchise over, but I feel like a fifth movie is just, I don't want to say inevitable, but like I could so see it being like this big return of the Furious Five. Like some big bad comes in and Poe needs help, so he like recruits the Furious Five as if he's recruiting the Avengers, something like that. But I could see them also ending the franchise here. I think it kind of ends on like a very this is the end kind of moment. The strongest parts of this movie, I think you mentioned it. It's Poe's adopted dad and his biological father. They're few and far between. We don't see them as much as I would have liked. Obviously, you also mentioned it with this movie. You're with Jack Black and Awkwafina the entire time. But I think the dynamic between the two fathers and Poe is just, it's really heartfelt. It's really fun. It's really funny. It's kind of like the life of this movie that I would have liked to see in other aspects of this film. But overall, I was a little disappointed. The first time we see Awkwafina's character, she's kind of like cloaked up. I shit you not, I thought for a second, is that Judy Hopps from Zootopia? Because because Awkwafina's voice also like kind of sounds like Judy Hopps. And I was like, oh, are we doing like a cinematic universe here? What are we doing? But yeah, I'm really in line with you. I also like, this isn't a movie I want to be overly critical about because I think of the four movies, this is the most this movie was made for a 6-year-old. I think 1 and 2, they carry some weight. They carry some adult themes that make it a little bit more enjoyable for us who's a little older now. But this one just kind of felt like a Sunday morning cartoon. And to some, that's fine, obviously. To me, it just made for a very like bland and boring experience, which again, not what you want out of a Kung Fu Panda movie. Any movie with the words Kung Fu in them, you want some high octane action. You want some fun. And this movie just kind of lacks that charm and that sauce. Jack Black is just fun. This, I think I read somewhere where on the red carpet, he called this like the role of a lifetime. And you could just so clearly tell just how much fun he has playing this role. And I think that just level of charm is just so infectious and it really carries this movie. But there's only so much that Jack Black can do when like the rest of the narrative just kind of falls flat and he doesn't have a supporting cast as intriguing as the Furious Five. They brought back Master Shen. Poe doesn't say a word to him. They brought back Tai Lung. He's kind of this nerfed loser. he has one cool line in the jail cell where he's looking at Poe and he's like, Master Shifu picked the wrong dragon warrior. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a cool line. He's really taking it to Poe. And then the rest of this movie, he's just kind of like this big bitch. Awkwafina's character was just kind of fine, kind of the most like predictable sidekick out there the entire time. Throwing out spoilers, let's just say that. Spoilers for Kung Fu Panda 4. I'll give you guys a second to fast forward like 5 minutes if you want. It was so obvious that she was going to turn on Poe at one point and then have this little redemption arc. And I was like, whenever that happens, I'm going to be disappointed because it's just too obvious. But again, it's a movie made for 6-year-olds. They're not hiding anything. They're trying to make it as like dumbed down as possible.
She's also a fox, and aren't foxes known to be like conniving and
exactly.
backstabby or whatever, whenever they're portrayed in media. So yeah,
like Jason Bateman's fox in Zootopia.
There you go.
Her character was a combination of that character and Judy Hopps from Zootopia. I'm confident. But yeah, that's about where I land. Of the 4 movies we just reviewed, probably the best. not saying much when the best of the four is still a 2.5.
Mhm.
I could also see this being like a way more loved movie than a 2.5. I could see us being on like the lower end of it. I'm already seeing it too. If even Sammy gave it a 3 stars, so it's being received well. I think a lot of people are having fun with it, but I don't know. I woke up and wasn't necessarily in the mood. Dude, Victoria and I got dinner last night, and then she was going to meet some of her friends out, and I was walking to the theater. Literally on like my way to the theater, like a wave of exhaustion hit me, and I was like, "Do I really want to sit in the theater and watch Kung Fu Panda by myself right now?" So I just went home.
Nice. Yeah.
Ended up just watching it this morning.
I'm gonna make a claim based on no fact, but I'm just gonna throw this out and guess that I'm gonna be correct. So I think this will either top Dune Part 2 or it'll be at the same for like this weekend's box office, but they'll for sure be number 1 and 2. So I'm gonna say first time ever one composer's had the top 2 spots at the box office because Hans Zimmer composed the Kung Fu Panda score. So probably not true, but I'm just gonna throw out that claim. Shout out Hans Zimmer, first guy ever to have the top 2 box office spots at a theater. Don't fact check it, but we're just gonna say that's what it is. Interesting that they released it like a week after Dune, though, just because it's, if you look at the theater release schedule, we kind of go into a dry spell for like the next like 3-4 weeks, and then we get kind of ramped up through Furiosa all the way into summer, and then we're into Oscar season. So it's kind of the last lull of the year in terms of releases. But we have Love Lies Bleeding next week, which looks great, but at the end of the day, it's a A24 film. It's not going to be making a ton of money. It's more of a niche audience. So Kung Fu Panda 4, I was kind of surprised they didn't just like wait a week or two and just let Dune hype die down a bit so that Kung Fu Panda 4 would be bigger at the box office. But kind of totally different demographics anyways, so should still be fine. But probably an awful weekend to work at the movie theaters just because Dune Part 2 definitely still is bringing in the theaters. Now you got all the kids running in for Kung Fu Panda 4 as well. But yeah, Hans Zimmer, shout out you. All of your scores for this franchise have been kind of forgettable. But I don't really remember any.
Whoa, not the first one.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say the first one's good, and then they kind of just, but to be fair, most franchises do the same thing, and it's not just Hans Zimmer, where it's just kind of rinse and repeat. Like same with Indiana, like they all do it. So that's not a Hans Zimmer dig. That's just any franchise. That's, you make a great score for the first one, that's kind of just tweak a little bit of it, and then it's kind of the same thing over and over. But this is also the first one he composed with someone else, Steve Mazzaro, who's composed Boss Baby, and that's about it. Army of Thieves, but yeah, so the other ones were only Hans Zimmer. This one has another composer on there, but still Hans Zimmer on the score. And yeah, like you said, I think I could see another sequel coming. And the more I think about it, A, I think 4 is a weird number for a franchise, and B, it's the Furious 5. I feel like it's just going to be Kung Fu Panda 5 will be the one that ended on with the Furious 5. That just, the number 5 it just makes too much sense. So I think they're going to see how this does at the box office. All the Kung Fu Panda movies have done well. They're not like Minions or Despicable Me's of the world. They're not blowing up the box office, any of them, not in the first, second, or third. But they're always like money makers. So I'm sure if this one makes money, they'll continue it. But yeah, can't leave it there. Fine movie.
Yeah, just fine. Kind of the theme of all of our movie reviews today.
Mm-hmm.
Just fine. Actually, that's a lie. Spaceman and Damsel, less than just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Stanicky, Kung Fu Panda 4, just fine. But let's continue with the animated chat because we got 2 trailers worth talking about today. With the first one being Inside Out 2. I think the biggest news coming out of that is that Ayo Edebiri, or Edebiri, I never know how to pronounce her last name.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, because it's Edebiri. So I'm inclined to say Edebiri, but then every time someone pronounces it, they like exclude that first I and just say Ayo Edebiri. So I don't know. Either way, she's obviously been on an awards season tear, picking up every lead actress in a comedy series award under the sun. She's going to be voicing Envy in Inside Out 2, which is fantastic news. We know what she's capable of. We know her acting chops. The trailer itself was cool. I feel like I've said this countless times. I'm still hesitant. Inside Out 1 is top 2 Pixar movie for me, right there with Coco, and they're interchangeable. So any given day, it could be number 1. I hesitate to say it's like the movie that made me cry the most in my life, but like it really might be. That movie made me cry like 4 separate times, just hysterically. And it's still, every time I watch it, it's just like a punch to the gut emotionally. So I love Inside Out 1. So naturally, I'm a little hesitant with Inside Out 2. I like that we finally got like a really like a legitimate trailer. Everything else has just been like a small teaser. And I liked what I saw. I really like the inclusion of the new emotions. We have envy, we have embarrassment. One of them was called something, but basically he's like a downer or something, or like a moot.
Is that one ennui?
Yeah,
Isn't one of them ennui?
Yeah,
A feeling of listlessness and dissatisfaction arising from
Yeah.
lack of occupation or excitements. Yeah, ennui.
I think ennui is just a nice way of saying depressed, and they didn't want to say depressed in a kid's
It
movie.
sounds like French for depressed. Feeling ennui. And it also feels like someone with a lisp saying ornery, so that also works too. I'm ennui right now.
It's like Thierry Henry from the soccer. But yeah, did you watch the trailer? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like Inside Out 1 a lot. I love it. I had it a 5 initially and lowered it to 4.5, but that's because I lowered a ton of stuff to 4.5 that I feel like for me, 5
favorites to a 4.5. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's because the big thing is like for me, like for 5s, I just kind of switched up my mentality to be like 5s have to be something I've like seen more than once at least, or it's like blew my mind to shreds the first time I watched it. Whereas Inside Out, I absolutely loved. Didn't say it like blew my mind to shreds, and I've only seen it once. So if I watch it again and love it just as much, it'll go back up to a 5. But I feel like 5s I have to like at least watch more than once to like kind of give it there. Because like the more I'm rewatching like La La Land and Mamma Mia, I'm like feel like calling these a 5 alongside something like Inside Out or something like I've only seen once to give a 5. I feel like it's just like not the same. I feel like I had to elevate what the status of a 5 was to like the movies I love and rewatch. But it's still 4.5 for me. I love it. It's one of my favorite Pixar movies for sure. Definitely made me cry the first time. A lot of connection to it. And I'm hesitant about a sequel. So when we're thinking Pixar sequels, we got Incredibles 2, which I think was a step down from Incredibles 1, but I still had a fun time with it. We had Toy Story 2, which 50-50 on people if they like it more or less than Toy Story 1, but still, up there at the same level. What other sequels have we gotten? I guess Toy Story is the only sequels, then Incredibles. Cars, yeah. And then Cars 2, definitely a step down from the first one.
Definitely.
So
first not high to begin with.
Yeah, so hit or miss for Pixar if sequels can live up to it. But when did Inside Out 1 come out? 2018?
Yeah, I think 2018 and 2017.
Okay. So 7 years feels a little better than like Cars, which I'm pretty sure were like a year or two after each other. Same with Toy Story, but where they kind of cranked them out. This is clearly they have something in their bag they want to make for this. So I'm excited for it. I thought the trailer was good. But yeah, we'll see. I'd be surprised if it lives up to the first one, but if it's at least, a 3.5, 4 star, I'll be happy about it.
Yeah. I'm absolutely tabling my expectations. I still have Inside Out 1 at a 5 star. I still think it's one of the top 2 Pixar, like I said, but also just top 10 like animated film ever. I think it's fucking brilliant. So I don't expect Inside Out 2 to top that or even come close, but 3.5, 4 star, I'll be very pleased. We also got a trailer for The Wild Robot. Every so often, like something will drop, like news, a trailer, and my Instagram DMs will like blow up with everyone telling me to like react to this. I swear they've never blown up the way they blew up when the Wild Robot trailer dropped. I got dozens of DMs saying, dude, you need to watch this trailer ASAP. You're going to love it. And they were absolutely right. I am such a huge Love, Death, and Robots fan, and this just feels like something that could take place within that TV show, and I think it's just fucking brilliant. It just seems like such a well-animated, heartfelt journey that you're going to watch, and you're just going to just have a fantastic time with. You're going to be immersed in this world just from the trailer alone. The world building just looks beautiful. It seems like they've really built up this like post-apocalyptic landscape really well. It stars Lupita Nyong'o, Pedro Pascal, Kit Connor, Stephanie Sue, and Mark Hamill. So no stranger to just a really fantastic cast. And then obviously Mark Hamill just already has like the experience voice acting, giving obviously some of the greatest in Firelord Ozai and obviously the Joker. So from the trailer, from the cast, there's just a lot going for this movie, and it really did quickly like shoot up my list of like favorite and most anticipated films of the year. What were your thoughts on The Wild Robot?
Yeah, I didn't see the trailer until just now. Just watching it without any sound on, and this
world looks super cool, and I immediately before, like I made that connection before I even said it. I agree 100% with the Love Death Robots. Immediately, this animation style looks very reminiscent of something you'd see in that universe. Cast looks great. Looks like such a cool universe. The otters look cute, but I see it's from the people who made How to Train Your Dragon, so obviously that alone will kind of raise the stakes of what people will be expecting for this. But yeah, this just kind of came out of nowhere. Just did not, this is nowhere on anyone's radar, and we've been getting a lot of sequels in terms of animated stuff. We've been getting a lot of continuations of franchises. This looks like something new and fresh, so I'm all for it. It looks, dystopian, futuristic. Animations, I'm really digging this animation. It looks cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome. For those who are unfamiliar, a robot is shipwrecked on an uninhabited island and must learn to adapt to the harsh surroundings, gradually building relationships with the animals on the island and becoming an adoptive parent of an orphaned gosling. So yeah, it seems like it's just going to be such like a heartfelt journey. It seems pretty immersive from the trailer, so it's just kind of everything that pulls towards me when it comes to animated cinema. I will say I had the same feeling after watching the trailer to A Strange World, the Jake Gyllenhaal animated movie. Kind of, fantastic world building, really cool animation, and that movie just kind of fell a little flat for me personally. So we'll see. But Wild Robot, I think it looks brilliant. I think it looks really good. Couple bit of new movie news to all of our Noah Baumbach fans. His next film will star George Clooney, Adam Sandler, Laura Dern, Billy Crudup, and Riley Keough, who was last seen in Daisy Jones and the Six, and it is described as a coming-of-age film about adults. I think that's the part that like really gets me, because we talk about coming of age, and I think everyone just inherently points to like middle school and high school. And then, we discussed it when we were talking about, oh my God, Jesus Christ, Riz Ahmed, Sound of Metal. And we were like debating whether or not that was a coming of age film. And I think we all landed on, yes, it is, because coming of age it's not, mutually exclusive to middle school and high school. So Noah Baumbach, I think is a fantastic filmmaker. I think he's kind of like, I'm trying to think of a way to say this, MPA is like, this is a respectful comment. He is like a knockoff Richard Linklater, but like I say that respectfully, where like he just understands life and he just has a really cool way of just translating everyday life into film. Obviously Marriage Story, Frances Ha, White Noise, the Meyerowitz Story. He just does a really good job with like that kind of like genre of film. And he's collecting a lot of top tier actors and actresses. So I think this has a lot of potential. Obviously, I'm a big Noah Baumbach fan. Any thoughts on this bit of news?
Yeah, I mean, Tom, when people have Netflix deals, because it's not a Netflix film, right? I think it was, Netflix tweeted out the news. Noah Baumbach's been like a Netflix guy for ages. Like he's been on such a long contract with them. Like everything he's releasing is Netflix stuff. But I mean, there's a lot to be excited about here. I think Noah Baumbach never really misses. I mean, if he misses, it's like a 3 or 2.5 star at the very lowest. So, it's going to be solid. I'm excited for it. I guess his last film was White Noise, which I liked more than most. And I feel like it's grown more fondly in my mind since watching it. Like the more I think about it, the more I liked it. So this cast looks great. Adam Sandler and him together should be fun once again. And then George Clooney. I mean, this whole cast is great. I'm excited for it. They didn't release any dates or anything, right? They just said like coming soon.
No, just coming soon. I've seen, I mean, only he doesn't have that big of a filmography, but Marriage Story, Frances Ha, those are 5-star movies for me. White Noise, and then I watched Mistress America just a couple weeks ago. So that's another Greta Gerwig starring movie. I give that a 4 stars. Highly recommend that one. And then the Meyerowitz Story, I actually recently took my rating away, but it was at a 4-star. So he's as far as I'm concerned, he hasn't missed. And I know obviously we attribute Netflix originals to Spaceman, Damsel, Slop. But it's Noah Baumbach. You have to go in with a pretty high level of expectation.
I mean, Marriage Story is technically a Netflix original too.
Yeah.
So he can make good ones at least.
Thank God someone can.
Yeah.
The bit of news kind of for myself a little bit. Avatar: The Last Airbender has been renewed for 2 more seasons at Netflix. This wasn't like earth-shattering news. I mentioned in my TikTok review, I think even if season 1 flopped atrociously, which I don't think it did. I know it's not being received too well, but it's not like a Rebel Moon level flop. But I think even if it did flop, they still would have continued with seasons 2 and 3, just because they have this massive cinematic universe already planned. Like they already know what they're doing post this live action TV show. They're already creating a movie about the Avatar Aang gang in like their I don't think it's teenage years. I think it's like mid-20 years. But then they're doing a bunch of spin-offs about like the Fire Nation, the Earth Nation, the Water Nation, and the Air Nomads. They're doing, I think they're doing a continuation of the Legend of Korra. I have to like refresh myself on the entire cinematic universe that they have planned, but I think they planned too much and they've already expended too many resources in this cinematic universe to have called it a wrap, even if season 1 was a flop. I think they have a lot to learn from season 1. I think there was a lot of missteps. The 8-episode format being the biggest one. I just think that takes away from a lot of like the smaller character moments that the original TV show had that we didn't get in this show. I think some of the casting needs to be polished up. Obviously, they're not going to be doing any recasts, but you do have like Toph Beifong, who's obviously going to be coming in the second season. And if they fuck up that casting, they're done. I will never watch that show again if they mess that casting up. She's maybe my second favorite character of the animated show, right behind Prince Zuko. So I'm excited.
How do you think they would mess up the casting? Like if they go for someone too comedic or someone too serious, or like what?
That's the thing. Like Toph Beifong is like, she is just like such a cartoonish character. Like she's like this really badass blind chick, but she's also like the funniest person on the show by far. So they're going to need to like balance it very well. I think also the look is very important. Her hairstyle in the TV show, in the animated show, like I don't think is going to translate well to live action. A lot of people have been speculating that they're not even going to cast a younger girl for this role. They're going to cast like an earth-bending, like intimidating guy, because that was the original plan for the animated show. The character of Toph Beifong was originally supposed to be this like very big bodybuilder-esque brute like man, and they ended up changing it to a little blind girl, obviously for the better, because I think she's just universally seen as one of the better Avatar: The Last Airbender characters. But now a lot of people are speculating that they're going to go the original direction for the live action show, which I think would ruin the show. So I don't know. They're going to cast an unknown, obviously. So I think there's no point in like posting like a fan cast video on Netflix, Jesus Christ, on TikTok.
Is there a single known cast member in Avatar like that, like you'd know from other projects? Or they're basically all unknown, even the adults?
No, the guy that played Fire Lord Ozai. Hold on, Fire Lord Ozai live action. He's been, you even know, and Daniel Day Kim.
First two parts of his name are goated, but just needed the Lewis at that.
Hold on. Daniel, you know him. I know you know him. Just look at a picture of him. Yeah, he was in Lost.
Yeah. Definitely know him mostly from Lost, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but he's like the only like familiar face, at least that I was aware of. Gotcha. So yeah, I'm excited. I guess I am. I love the story. I love this world. Again, I don't think season 1 landed as heavily as everyone had expected, but I also don't think it's like a flop as much as some people are attributing. Next bit of news, just kind of fun. I don't think this is ever going to happen. Timothée Chalamet says he wants Austin Butler's Elvis to appear in his Bob Dylan biopic, creating a little biopic cinematic universe here. What are your thoughts on that?
It's like so stupid that I like it. Like I no one's ever thought about doing that. And obviously connected universes and multiverses are a thing that have been done to shreds, but it's so dumb. I almost like it. I almost would like it more if like Well, no, it'd be just so stupid, but it'd be funny just if like Bob Dylan goes into like a meeting with a potential music manager and it's just Tom Hanks as Colonel Parker or whatever, just there like sign with my record label. And he's like, no, I'll pass. And that's always see Tom Hanks. But no, I mean, if Austin Butler was in that movie, that'd be great. But I feel like they're going for a much more grounded indie type of look and feel for this musical biopic as opposed to Elvis, which was Baz Luhrmann, very jazzy up and huge production. So I feel like it's gonna be much different tones. So I don't know if it would cross over well, but I mean, it'd be awesome to see. It would be a true break the internet moment if they don't do that in the trailer and everyone goes into it and Austin Butler shows up as Elvis in Bob Dylan biopic, which I think just naturally, I mean, in terms of Elvis's stardom, it's hard to compare him to anybody. Michael Jackson is probably the only other person you could compare in terms of just being such a superstar phenomenon. But in general, I'd be like, all things equal, more people would see an Elvis movie as opposed to a Bob Dylan movie if everything else is equal. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like if he was going to be in it, they would tease it in the trailer for sure because they'd want to get people out there. But I doubt it'll ever happen. But just a silly thought.
Yeah, no, I don't see this ever happening. This just seems like something like Timothy just like jokingly says passing an interview for like clicks or something. But no, it's never going to happen. The last bit of news, just a couple of releases. June this year is going to be a crazy month for television. We have House of the Dragon returning for season 2. The Bear already returning for season 3, The Boys returning for season 4, and then we have the new Star Wars show, The Acolyte, premiering with season 1. This is just insane for me. I obviously love The Bear. I've been saying it's been the best show on television for the last 2 years. The Boys is maybe the greatest comic book superhero show out there, right there with like the HBO Watchmen show and the animated Batman series. And then House of the Dragon. I hold season 1 very highly. I think it's one of the better season 1s of television we've got in a long time. And I just love being in the world of Westeros. I think it's just such a fun place to be. And season 1 just ended on like the most jaw-dropping cliffhanger ever. So I'm excited to see where Rhaenyra and Daemon's story goes and where Alicent's story goes in season 2, because I'm not familiar on this timeline of Westeros. I'm only really familiar with the lore that surrounds Game of Thrones, and House of the Dragon takes place, I believe, 200 years before Game of Thrones. I'm not going to spoil it, but in Game of Thrones, one of the characters actually spoils kind of what happens in House of the Dragon. I guess they included like that line of dialogue before they knew they were making a House of the Dragon television show. So I know kind of like what happens, which is funny. But like I'm still obviously just not in line with that lore. And then The Acolyte is going to be the latest Disney Plus Star Wars show. They've obviously been on a run with the 3 Mandalorian seasons, Book of Boba Fett. God, I'm missing the big ones. Obi-Wan Kenobi, wow. And Ahsoka. Very mixed reviews. I think outside of Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, everything else has been kind of hit or miss for a lot of people. I know a lot of people weren't really on board with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I know a lot of people were kind of 50-50 on Ahsoka, which I was as well. And then I think the Book of Boba Fett just kind of flopped for everyone. I'm hearing some great things about the Bad Batch. I believe season 3 just began. I'm still caught in the middle of season 2. I've been kind of taking my time there. But I'm hearing some really, really good things, which is promising for Disney Plus and these Star Wars shows. The Acolyte is like a... it's kind of what I've been looking for from Star Wars. It's something I think you'll enjoy a little bit more because it is a little bit more about the rebellion side, and it's away from the Skywalker saga. So I think in that sense, it's going to be maybe a little dirty, I guess. Andor. Oh my God, I forgot Andor too. Another. Probably the best season of Star Wars television that they've given us live action, which is obviously the prequel to Rogue One. So if I don't think you've seen Andor, you should definitely check it out.
I'm a huge fan of Andor, though I haven't seen it, but I'm a Rogue One defender, so therefore I will defend
Yeah.
Andor to death. Haven't seen it.
I'm not as high on Rogue One as you are, but I would take Andor over Rogue One. I loved Andor. I think that is the best season of live action Star Wars television, even above seasons 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian, which I think Cam would call me crazy for saying, but I'm just big on like moving away from the Skywalker saga, and the Acolyte coming up is what I think we're kind of heading in that direction, which I really love. I love exploring different sides of the rebellion, different sides of the age of the Empire. So it's cool. It's cool. It's fun. Did you ever watch House of the Dragon?
Yeah, I loved House of the Dragon.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
Probably our first and only time we'll ever give out a best TV show of the year award was House of the Dragon winning that one. We just don't watch enough TV to where like we could have any like TV awards with any level of seriousness. But House of the Dragon won. Loved that. I'll give The Bear another chance now it's coming out again. I was gonna say I feel like it just came out, but I guess every June it's come out so far. So June 2022 is the first season, then 2023 is last, and then we're gonna have it again 2024, which I think Succession was on that same kick around like February or March though, of once a year a new season would drop. But maybe we're just getting older and years are flying by faster. Because like I think The Bear just came out, and I was just watching it for the first time because it was right before season 2 came out. But I got like 6. I think if there's 8 episodes in a season or something, I got like 6 into the first one, just fell off. But I'll give it another chance when it comes because they're quick episodes. They're like 25 minutes each or something.
Yeah.
So I'll give it another run once June comes around. But that's probably the one I'd be. Well, House of the Dragon I'm most excited for. Then The Bear. The Boys have never given a shot. Well, I've seen episode 1 of season 1. It just didn't hook me. And The Acolyte. I have so much Star Wars to catch up on before we'd even get to that.
Yeah, there's I'm hesitant to say you will like The Boys, or I'm hesitant to say you will love The Boys. I think at the very least you'll like it. I think you'll like it because it's kind of like it's a very interesting look at a world of superheroes where you're not necessarily like, you're not following like the superheroes being good guys. You're kind of following like the civilian resistance side of things. And the show doesn't like shy away from like, and obviously the show is based on the graphic novels. So the graphic novels do not shy away from painting like the core superhero bunch as these very shitty, unethical people. But to the general public, they're obviously superheroes. They're very like, noble men and women, but they're very shitty people. So it's a very interesting look at like the superhero genre. And it's obviously, I'm sure you've just seen everyone talking about it. It's so gory, so raw. They don't pull their punches. They don't hold back anything. If you're like, everyone is obviously in like a superhero fatigue era of filmmaking right now, I would implore you to watch The Boys. I think that'll pull you right back into the superhero genre because it really is just such a unique experience compared to like what Marvel and DC is dropping right now, and obviously the Sonyverse. That kind of wraps up news. Moving on. Obviously, we like to end every episode with a game, a draft, a ranking. So this week, figured we would introduce something a little more fun. I posted a poll on my Twitter last night asking you guys, asking you guys to drop your hottest film takes. We're just going to have some fun with it. Tyler and I are going to react to it. Tyler, I opened the link and I can't see the hot takes. Is it because you made it?
Let's see. That's possible, but I should have access to them. So let me.
Yeah. So if you want to pull it up and.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah, let me pull up these hot takes you guys submitted. I wonder how many submissions we got because you probably don't see any of the information, right? Because
I don't see anything. I got a lot of replies to my tweet that said like a lot of people were like saying, "Oh, you're gonna hate one."
Okay. Responses 328. Okay, so we're not gonna go through all of them.
Holy shit!
Shout out you guys for always being down to help us out with content.
Yeah, damn.
But 328. Okay, so
that's kind of absurd.
There's no way to really filter these, so we'll just go randomly. Well, actually, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I won't share the screen just in case anyone submitted something they don't want shared. But number one, we're going to do random number generators, and we'll share that part of the screen so we can randomly pick out what the RNG gods decide which number we're going to be picking. So stand by 1 second. This is great podcasting, but yeah, damn, 328. Shout out you guys because we did this. We sent this out like yesterday, didn't we? It's like very late notice. We didn't know that Cam nor Seth were going to be here until like 24 hours ago. So we tried to get a guest, but again, we gave guests an unfair amount of time to say if they could join or not. So not really fair on the guest, and a couple weren't able to, but again, like what can you expect out of people on such a short notice? But okay, so now random number generator. Okay, random.org. I'm going to use you. And share screen.
The RGN. The RNG.
Yep, the RNG gods. So we got 328 responses. First hot take we got 301. Come on down. And there was no name submitted in this form, so I'm not going to be able to like shout anyone out for theirs, but The Big Lebowski is heavily overrated. I'll go first. I haven't seen it. Can't say anything about that.
I'll go second. I disagree. I don't agree when people call it like one of the greatest comedies of all time or just one of the greatest narratives of all time. It's still 4.5 out of 5 for me. I think it's like such a staple of like dry humor and crime drama, I guess. It's a good movie. I don't think it's heavily overrated. I think it's very properly rated.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I probably would end up agreeing just because the Coens are so hit or miss for me, and especially anytime they do comedy, I'm less high on them. So, 301, I'll probably agree with you. Next, we got 104. Come on down. 104. Speed Racer is the Wachowskis' best movie. So the Wachowskis also did all the Matrix movies.
Yeah, you're not putting Speed Racer above fucking the Matrix. I'm not even putting Speed Racer above Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah. I like Speed Racer more than most because it's one of those that a lot of people on like film Twitter like love a lot, but like the general review of the movie is like probably like a 2.7 on Letterboxd. I don't know. Let me see what it actually is.
I will say I want to give Speed Racer another chance. I remember watching Speed Racer a couple months ago for the first time, and I was just in such a bad mood, and I was like, I'm so not in the mood for this movie right now. But I ended up finishing it, and I think I just like tore it to shreds.
Yeah, I think we reviewed it on Real Quick.
Did we?
I think because we all watched it. Maybe I'm making that up, but yeah, it's got an average rating of 3.4. But my friend's rating is, I don't know. You see that on desktop actually. Ratings.
No, you can only see it on the phone, I think.
Oh, interesting. So yeah,
on iOS.
Gotcha. So friends looks like just from the average it'd be higher, but I gave it a 2.5. Actually, I've lowered it. So I guess I don't like it more than most. I don't like it, but I need to give it another chance. I would take pretty much all the Matrix movies over it. Next number. 285. All right, we got Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade, greater than Raiders of the Lost Ark. So is that Last Crusade is the third?
Third one, yeah, with Sean Connery.
Let me see where all my Indiana Jones rank.
That's a no-go for me. I still stand by. Raiders of the Lost Ark is maybe the greatest adventure film ever made. I think that is such a beautiful film.
I need to give it another chance. For me, I just have it a 4-star right now, which I mean it's a good rating, but I want to see what I have Last Crusade at, because I know for a fact I have Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom is the lowest.
This also isn't a knock to The Last Crusade. I also give The Last Crusade a 4.5 stars. I think that movie fucking slaps. I think Harrison Ford and Sean Connery together are just hilarious. And I think that one kind of carries like the spark that you saw in Raiders. Way better than Temple of Doom does.
Yeah, I like 3 of the 4 a lot. Like I don't love Temple of Doom, but I like Last Crusade, and I even like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Don't like Dial of Destiny, of course. But yeah, I'd still say Raiders is. So there hasn't been a hot take yet that either of us have agreed with. So we'll see if we can get one.
I'm waiting for like a jaw-dropping hot take.
Yeah, we haven't had a jaw-dropping one. I mean, Speed Racer is kind of crazy, but 42 is next. Okay. So the longer one. If you took away the nostalgia curve and showed an Alien, A New Hope, and The Force Awakens back to back, they would care more about Rey, Finn, and Poe than Luke, Han, and Leia.
No.
I don't think so. I think
I don't
Poe
think
is
so.
so bland. Ray's solid. I think both Finn and Poe just don't get. They don't
Yeah.
get me. They don't do it for me.
I think I don't know. Poe to me just seems like a cheap knock. And I like Poe, but he is like a Han Solo kind of knockoff. And I think Han Solo just has like better character progression. I think his introduction was a lot cooler. I do love the relationship between Poe and Finn. I think they established that relationship very quickly, and I think that's the strongest aspect of both of their characters. But I don't think people care nearly as much for Poe and Finn the way we do about Leia, Luke, and Han. I think Rey, I'll argue Rey is one of the better Star Wars characters, but I still wouldn't take her over the original three.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. So neither of us have agreed on any of the takes yet, but also none of us have like blown our socks off yet. So we're gonna see who can try and do that. But next up we have 162. Are you gonna be the one? 162. Am I Dreaming clears every single song not named Skyfall ever in a movie.
Ever? I mean, I'll stand by that. I think "Am I Dreaming" is the best original song from any movie last year, and it should have won the Oscar for best original song, but it wasn't even nominated. But ever? That means you're taking it over like "Lose Yourself."
Yeah,
That means
that's
you're
the first one
taking
came
it
to
over
mind.
like "My Heart Will Go On." I think you're excluding some iconic movies. There are days where I don't even think it's the best original song of last year. I think "Quiet Eyes" from Past Lives is like, I think they're 1A and 1B. I don't know. I'd say I disagree with that, but off the top of my head, I'm having trouble thinking of like other original songs.
No, I would not fully agree with it either. But shout out Skyfall, Adele, great song,
Great song, great track. I mean, even "No Time to Die," like that's a
Right.
Billy banger, man.
Next up, 33. 33. Batman 66 is a top 5 Batman movie behind only The Dark Knight, The Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, and maybe Batman vs Superman. I haven't seen Batman 66. This must be an Adam West one.
It is the Adam West one. Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's a weird relationship I have with the Adam West Batman movies because it's like, yeah, for their time they're cool. Obviously, the graphic novels they had to work off of weren't as like complex and epic as you see now with like The Long Halloween and Ego and Other Tales. So it is kind of like playing towards the comedy side of Batman a bit more than you obviously, now with Batman movies, they're very dark, very gritty with like Dark Knight and the Batman. And personally, I'm way more attracted to that side of Batman filmmaking. So no, it's not in my top 5. It's probably not even my top 10 Batman movies. I think there are a couple of animated movies I would even take over 66's Batman.
I think I might watch 1966 Batman after we record. I think that's gonna be my day. I'm gonna watch that today.
Do it. It's a good movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
not.
No, I wouldn't. I doubt I would ever hold it that high either. But 290. We got another Batman take.
Hell yeah.
The Batman is a better Batman movie than The Dark Knight, while The Dark Knight is a better overall movie. So the classic Batman, the Batman does Batman better than The Dark Knight.
I think this is like, it's such a weird like way to, I think that's such like I think that's a cowardice way to avoid like answering the question of which movie do you think is better.
290, you're a coward. You've heard it here first.
I also don't even think it's a hot take. I've seen that take like a million times.
290's getting roasted right now.
290's getting smacked up. I'm sorry to whoever said this. I think there are Batman attributes that the Batman does better than the Dark Knight. I think there are Batman things that the Dark Knight does better than the Batman. Like I think in the Batman, that's the best depiction of Gotham City you'll ever see. And I think Pattinson's Batman shows Batman as like a detective better than the Dark Knight does. But I also think the Dark Knight is just a better display of like graphic novel understanding of the character, if that makes sense. I think they nailed the Bruce Wayne aspect of Batman significantly better, although I expect to see a more mature Bruce Wayne in the Batman 2. And if that happens, then maybe I'll sit here and tell you that Robert Pattinson is the better Batman Bruce Wayne than Christian Bale was. But no, I think The Dark Knight is a better movie. I don't think either of them are better Batman movies because I think they both do things very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Batman better than the Dark Knight, but it's not a big gap. And I don't really, I just don't know how to really answer the Batman is a better Batman movie than the Dark Knight. I feel like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm not too versed enough in Batman to be able to answer that, but 307. 307. All right, we got a non-Batman question. The OG Halloween 2 is one of the worst of the franchise for what it spawned, making Michael the main character instead of leaving it as an anthology series.
Can you repeat that?
So I don't know. Original Halloween 2, that I'm guessing that means the first, because I know Halloween 2 is a movie that's been a couple times, but I'm guessing the first Halloween 2, so the first sequel, is one of the worst of the franchise because it spawned making Michael the main character instead of leaving it as an anthology series.
I
don't really know. I've only seen 3 of the movies, but I don't.
I mean, it's weird saying like one of the worst of the franchises because I have the original Halloween 2 at a 1.5, and it's still ranked 6th out of 13 in my ranking. But I think this entire franchise is just a flop left and right. But I get it. I mean, it's weird it's weird having the non-final girl as the main character and instead focusing on like Michael Myers, like following it from his POV. I think that's just weird in any horror movie just because you don't see it happen all too often. Obviously, you kind of rarely see it happen. But I don't think that that's not the reason this franchise sucks. That is absolutely not the reason. I think it doesn't matter who you follow. I'd even argue that the 2018 reboot kind of follows Michael not as heavily as it follows Laurie Strode and her granddaughter, but it follows Michael more heavily than other movies have. So I think it proves that you can find success in that way, but that's not the reason this franchise sucks.
256. I feel like we've gotten a lot of high numbers. 256.
Yeah, let me get number 1.
Man, another Force Awakens one. The Force Awakens is a near perfect Star Wars movie, and if 8 and 9 weren't so mid, it would be seen that way. Well, I don't know. I forgot. Where are you on The Last Jedi? I don't think The Last Jedi is terrible, but 9 I think is terrible. I mean,
I define terrible. I give The Last Jedi a 2-star or a 2.5 star? No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Rise of Skywalker. Last Jedi I give 3.5 star. So I don't hold Last Jedi as poorly as a lot of people do. I think there's a lot the movie gets right. I think there's a lot of shit the movie just absolutely butchers. There are a lot of just annoying character moments. I think the entire sequence on Canto Bight is just so cringe. The hilarious Disney ending on those children is just the most cringe-worthy Star Wars stuff. I don't know if I would agree that I love The Force Awakens. Don't get me wrong. And it's a 4.5 out of 5 for me. But I don't know if I would call it near perfect. I understand the criticism that it's very A New Hope-esque, but I also think that was also the intention of this movie. This wasn't necessarily supposed to be seen as a sequel to the Skywalker saga. I think it was meant to be seen as a reboot of the franchise for a new generation. So I don't mind the New Hope comparisons. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think people look down on Force Awakens because of how critical they are on The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, but I don't.
We'll do 3 more, and I've been highlighting the ones we've done on this sheet. So anytime we're lacking content, we can just come back to this and start grabbing some more hot takes. We'll do 3 more for this episode. 68. There we go. We got a low one. 68. Man, it's weird how these groupings are all so similar in themes. But the Temple of Doom is the best Spielberg film. Not even gonna waste time on that. No, not even the best Indiana Jones one. It's the worst Indiana. Well, no, Dial of Destiny is the worst Indiana Jones one. But 2 more. Thanks 68 for wasting our 3 last spots. 265. Captain America: Civil War isn't even in the top 10 MCU movies. It's definitely in my top 10. That's
definitely. It's in my top 5. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Crack take.
God.
At least we're getting some that are a little hot now. Well, no, those are both definitely very hot. Saying Temple of Doom's best Spielberg movie is definitely a very hot take. So good job on being hot. 15, final one, the last one. besides the Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad, besides the Suicide Squad, there's not one DCEU film above a 5 out of 10.
What?
To clarify, I don't know if Zack Snyder's Justice League is technically considered DCEU or not, but we'll forget about that. We both know DC. We both know Snyder's Justice League is above it. But I mean, we got Man of Steel. That's a 4, maybe a 4.5.
Man of Steel.
Batman vs Superman above a 5 out of 10.
Yes.
Aquaman, Wonder Woman above 100%. A 5 out of 10. The ones below, yeah, we got, Black Adam could be right around there. Shazam 1, I think, is above. Shazam 2 below. Justice League below. Wonder Woman 1984 below.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, there's a more, and honestly, just listing them off now, more than I expected. Because when I first read this, I was like, yeah, probably most of them are mid or below mid, but no, there's a lot of them that, like, the worst I would go is saying it's like a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, that's a crack take. I give 9 DCEU movies over a 3 out of 5, so 6 out of 10. And then Fury of the Gods is a 2.5. Blue Beetle is a 2.5. OG Shazam is a 2.5, so those would be on the 5 out of 10 mark perfectly. And then I got Black Adam, Suicide Squad, Justice League, and Wonder Woman 84 less than a 5 out of 10.
Kind of want to rewatch Wonder Woman now. I don't know why. I just got Batman 66 is on the agenda today. Maybe I'll rewatch Wonder Woman. Maybe I'll rewatch Wonder Woman 84.
Oh, definitely don't waste your time. No.
Wait, you don't like the first one? I think the first one for me is like
no, the first one. No. I'm talking about 84. 84.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, the first one's great. First one's great.
One's fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would say great.
I don't know. For me, I think it's like my second highest DCEU, if we're not counting Snyder's Justice League, right behind Man of Steel. But
interesting.
But yeah. All right. We'll end there on hot takes.
Yeah, that'll wrap up our episode. Shout out to our executive producer, Stefan Johnston, absolute dog. And as always, guys, take a look at our social media, our Patreon. We're all over the place. We've been doing great with views lately. So thank you guys for supporting and continuing to love the podcast. Or if you hate watch us too, awesome. Thanks for giving us the views. We got a couple of real quicks dropping this week. Patron exclusive. We're going to be reviewing The Wrong Missy as well as Bo Burnham's Inside. And then real quick, we're going to be drafting Tom Hanks movies, kind of talking about his filmography a little bit. And then hopefully you guys have already heard the Oscars talk, of course. But if you did not, we will see you tomorrow for Oscars talk. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we will see you on Thursday for Tom Hanks movie draft.
Yep.
Peace out.